Emma Watson is one of the most recognizable actresses of today, known for her roles in films that have shaped generations. From the unforgettable Hermione Granger in the Harry Potter series to her involvement in socially responsible projects, Emma has taken on numerous roles throughout her career that have made her globally renowned. In this video, we will take a look at all of her films, from her beginnings in the industry to her latest projects, in order to fully explore her diverse filmography. Albus Dumbledore, Minerva McGonagall, and Rubeus Hagrid, professors at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, bring an orphan named Harry Potter to his only remaining relatives, the Dursleys. 10 years later, Harry leads a difficult life with the Dursleys, and after unknowingly causing an accident during a family trip, he begins receiving unwanted letters delivered by owls. Eventually, Hagrid reappears, and Harry learns that he is actually a wizard and has been accepted into Hogwarts, despite the Dursleys' objections. Hagrid takes Harry to Diagon Alley to buy school supplies, including a uniform, a wand, and an owl named Hedwig as a birthday gift. He also reveals Harry's past. Harry is the son of two wizards who were killed by the dark and powerful wizard Lord Voldemort with a killing curse. Harry was the only one to survive the attack, making him famous in the wizarding world as the boy who lived. Harry then goes to King's Cross Station to board the train to Hogwarts. During the journey, he meets Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. He also encounters Draco Malfoy, a spoiled boy from a wealthy wizarding family, who later becomes his biggest rival at school. Upon arriving at Hogwarts, the students gather in the Great Hall, where the Sorting Hat places them into one of four houses: Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, or Slytherin. Harry is sorted into Gryffindor, along with Ron and Hermione. As he learns magic, Harry discovers more about his past and his parents. He is also recruited into Gryffindor's Quidditch team as a seeker, a rare honor for a first-year student. One night, while exploring the school, Harry and his friends discover a massive three-headed dog named Fluffy in a forbidden section of the school. Later, they learn that Fluffy is guarding the Philosopher's Stone, a magical object that grants immortality to its owner. Harry suspects that the potions professor, Severus Snape, is trying to steal the stone to bring Voldemort back to physical form. The children learn from Hagrid that Fluffy falls asleep when it hears music. Determined to find the stone before Snape does, Harry, Ron, and Hermione sneak in, only to discover that Fluffy is already asleep. To reach the stone, they must overcome a series of obstacles, including a deadly plant called the Devil's Snare, a room filled with aggressive flying keys, and a dangerous life-size chess game. When Harry reaches the final obstacle, he discovers that it is actually the defense against the dark arts professor, Quirrell, who is trying to steal the stone, while Snape had been protecting Harry all along. Quirrell removes his turban, revealing that the weakened Voldemort is living on the back of his head due to a spell cast by Dumbledore. Harry ends up in possession of the Philosopher's Stone. Voldemort tries to convince him to hand it over, promising to bring his parents back, but when Harry refuses, Quirrell attacks him. However, every touch from Harry burns Quirrell's skin, ultimately destroying him. Voldemort's spirit then escapes from Quirrell's body and passes through Harry, knocking him unconscious. Harry wakes up in the hospital wing, where Dumbledore explains that the Philosopher's Stone has been destroyed and that Ron and Hermione are safe. He also reveals that Harry was able to defeat Quirrell because his mother's sacrifice protected him with a magical love charm against Voldemort. In the end, Harry, Ron, and Hermione earn points for their bravery, tying Gryffindor with Slytherin. However, Neville Longbottom receives an additional 10 points for his courage, making Gryffindor the winner of the House Cup. Harry returns home for the summer, happy to have finally found his true home at Hogwarts. Harry Potter spends the summer with the Dursleys, not receiving any letters from his friends at Hogwarts. In his room, he meets Dobby, a house elf, who warns him about the danger of returning to Hogwarts. Dobby admits that he intercepted Harry's letters and destroys a cake, causing the Dursleys to lock Harry up. However, Ron Weasley and his brothers, Fred and George, rescue Harry using their father's flying car. While shopping for school supplies, Harry and the Weasleys meet Rubeus Hagrid and Hermione Granger and attend a book signing by the famous wizard Gilderoy Lockhart, who announces that he will be the new defense against the dark arts professor. During an argument with Draco Malfoy, Harry meets Draco's father, Lucius, who secretly slips a book into Ginny Weasley's belongings. When Harry and Ron are unable to enter Platform 9 3/4, they decide to fly to Hogwarts in the enchanted car but crash into the Whomping Willow. Ron's wand is damaged, and the car ejects them before driving off on its own. Though they are nearly expelled, Professor McGonagall gives them detention. While serving detention with Lockhart, Harry hears strange voices and later finds Filch's cat petrified with a blood-written message. The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. McGonagall explains that Salazar Slytherin, one of Hogwarts' founders, built a hidden chamber containing a monster that only his heir can control, intending to rid the school of Muggle-born wizards. Harry and Ron suspect Malfoy is the heir, so Hermione suggests using Polyjuice Potion to question him. They prepare the potion in the abandoned girls' bathroom haunted by Moaning Myrtle. When Harry unknowingly speaks Parseltongue, students begin to suspect he is Slytherin's heir. On Christmas, Harry and Ron discover that Malfoy is not the heir but learn that a girl died the last time the chamber was opened 50 years ago. Harry finds an enchanted diary belonging to former student Tom Marvolo Riddle, which shows him a memory from the past in which Riddle accuses Hagrid of opening the chamber. When the diary disappears and Hermione is petrified, Harry and Ron decide to question Hagrid. However, before they can, Dumbledore, Minister Cornelius Fudge, and Lucius Malfoy arrive, taking Hagrid to Azkaban. Before leaving, Hagrid secretly advises them to follow the spiders. In the Forbidden Forest, Harry and Ron encounter Hagrid's giant spider Aragog, who reveals that Hagrid is not guilty and gives them a clue about the monster from the chamber. Soon, however, they are attacked by a colony of spiders, but they are saved by the now independent flying car. In Hermione's petrified hand, Harry finds a page from a book that reveals the monster from the chamber is a secret basilisk, a giant snake that kills with its gaze. The victim survived because they saw it indirectly. Soon, the school professors discover that Ginny has been taken to the chamber and force Lockhart to save her. Harry and Ron discover that Lockhart is a fraud who plans to escape. Following the clues, they reach the bathroom of Moaning Myrtle and find the entrance to the chamber. Inside, Lockhart uses Ron's broken wand against them, but the spell backfires, erasing his memory while also causing the collapse of the cave. Harry enters the chamber alone and finds the unconscious Ginny, next to Tom Riddle. Riddle reveals that he used the diary to manipulate Ginny and reopen the chamber. He then reveals that his full name is an anagram for I am Lord Voldemort, confirming that he is the heir of Slytherin. When Harry declares his loyalty to Dumbledore, his Phoenix Fox flies in with a sorting hat, while Riddle summons the Basilisk. Fox blinds the Basilisk, and Harry pulls Godric Gryffindor's sword from the hat and kills it. However, one of the snake's venomous fangs pierces Harry. At the last moment, Harry kills Riddle by stabbing the diary with a basilisk's tooth, destroying his magic and saving Ginny. Fox's tears heal Harry's wound, and they return to Hogwarts with the unconscious Lockhart. Dumbledore praises Harry and Ron and orders Hagrid's release. He shows Harry that the sword he used actually belonged to Godric Gryffindor, and explains that Harry is different from Voldemort because he chose Gryffindor, not Slytherin. Harry then accuses Lucius Malfoy of planting the diary on Ginny. Taking advantage of the situation, he manages to trick Lucius into unknowingly freeing Dobby. All the petrified students are healed. Hermione rejoins Harry and Ron, and Hagrid returns from Azkaban. In the final scene, Lockhart releases a new autobiography titled Who Am I? Harry Potter spends another unhappy summer with the Dursleys when Aunt Marge insults Harry's parents. Harry loses his temper and quietly wishes that she would swell up and fly away. Harry runs away with his luggage, tired of life with the Dursleys, and the night bus takes him to the Leaky Cauldron, where the Minister of Magic, Cornelius Fudge, pardons him for using magic outside of Hogwarts School. After reuniting with his best friends, Ron and Hermione, Harry learns that Sirius Black, a convicted supporter of the dark wizard Voldemort who killed Harry's parents, has escaped from Azkaban with the intention of killing Harry. Harry, along with Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger, returns to Hogwarts for the start of the school year on the Hogwarts Express, when Dementors suddenly board the train and search for Sirius. One of them enters the trio's compartment, causing Harry to faint. The new defense against the dark arts professor, Professor Lupin, repels the Dementor using the Patronus charm. At Hogwarts, Headmaster Albus Dumbledore announces that the Dementors will guard the school, while Sirius remains at large. The new Care of Magical Creatures teacher, Hagrid, has his first lesson go awry when Draco Malfoy intentionally provokes a hippogriff, Buckbeak, who attacks him. Draco exaggerates his injury, and later his father, Lucius Malfoy, sentences Buckbeak to death. The portrait of the Fat Lady, who guards the Gryffindor common room, is found destroyed and empty, and frightened and hidden in another portrait. The Fat Lady tells Dumbledore that Sirius Black entered the castle. During a stormy Quidditch match against Hufflepuff, Dementors attack Harry, causing him to fall off his broom. In Hogsmeade, Harry is shocked to learn that Sirius Black was his father's best friend and is supposedly the one who betrayed them to Voldemort, but also that Sirius is his godfather. Lupin privately teaches Harry how to defend himself from Dementors using the Patronus charm. After Harry, Ron, and Hermione witness Buckbeak's execution, Ron's rat Scabbers bites him and runs away. When Ron goes after him, a large dog appears, pulling Ron and Scabbers into a hole at the base of the willow tree, which leads to an underground passage to the horrible house. The trio discovers that the dog is actually Sirius, who is an animagus. Lupin arrives and hugs Sirius as an old friend, admitting that he is a werewolf and explaining that Sirius was wrongfully accused of betraying the Potters to Voldemort and of murdering 12 Muggles and their mutual friend, Peter Pettigrew. It is revealed that Scabbers is actually Pettigrew, an animagus who committed the crime for which Sirius was convicted and who betrayed the Potters. After forcing him to return to human form, Lupin and Sirius prepare to kill him, but Harry convinces them to turn Pettigrew over to the Dementors. As the group sets off, the full moon rises. Lupin transforms into a werewolf, and Sirius into his dog form to defend him. In the chaos, Pettigrew transforms back into a rat and escapes. Sirius and Harry are attacked by Dementors, and Harry sees a figure in the distance who saves them by casting a powerful Patronus charm. He believes the mysterious figure is his deceased father and loses consciousness. When he wakes up, he discovers that Sirius has been captured and sentenced to the Dementor's Kiss. On Dumbledore's advice, Harry and Hermione travel back in time using Hermione's time turner and witness themselves and Ron repeating the events of that night. They save Buckbeak from execution and witness the Dementors overpowering Sirius and Harry. Harry realizes that it was actually he who summoned the Patronus, and does so again. Harry and Hermione rescue Sirius, who escapes with Buckbeak. Lupin resigns to prevent an uprising among parents about the werewolf teaching their children. Sirius sends Harry the Firebolt broom, and Harry happily rides it. Harry Potter wakes up from a nightmare in which Frank Bryce is murdered after eavesdropping on Lord Voldemort as he conspires with Peter Pettigrew and another man. Harry attends the Quidditch World Cup between Ireland and Bulgaria along with Ron Weasley and his family. After the match, Death Eaters terrorize the campsite, and the man from Harry's dream summons the Dark Mark, the symbol of Voldemort and the Death Eaters. At Hogwarts, Albus Dumbledore introduces Alastor, Mad-Eye Moody as the new defense against the Dark Arts professor. Moody is a former Auror. Aurors are wizards employed by the Ministry of Magic to hunt down dark wizards. Dumbledore also announces that the school will host the legendary event known as the Triwizard Tournament, in which 3 magical schools compete in 3 dangerous challenges. The Goblet of Fire selects the champions who will participate in the tournament. Cedric Diggory from Hufflepuff as Hogwarts representative, Victor Krum as the representative of the Durmstrang Institute from Central Europe, and Fleur Delacour as the representative of the Beauxbatons Academy of Magic from France. However, the Goblet unexpectedly selects a 4th champion, Harry Potter. Dumbledore cannot remove Harry from the tournament, as Ministry official Barty Crouch Sr. insists that the champions are bound by a magical contract once chosen by the Goblet. In the first task, each champion must retrieve a golden egg guarded by a dragon. Harry successfully secures the egg, which contains information about the second challenge. Soon after, another event takes place, the Yule Ball, a formal dance. Harry's crush, Cho Chang, attends with Cedric, while Hermione Granger arrives with Victor, making Ron jealous. In the second task, the champions must dive underwater and rescue their friends. Harry finishes in 3rd place, but is awarded 2nd place behind Cedric due to his bravery and strong moral character after saving not only Ron but also Fleur's sister, Gabrielle. Later, Harry discovers the body of Barty Crouch Sr. in the forest. While waiting for Dumbledore in his office, he comes across the Pensieve, a magical basin of memories. In it, he witnesses a trial in which Igor Karkaroff, the headmaster of the Durmstrang Institute, reveals the names of other Death Eaters to the Ministry of Magic after Voldemort's downfall. When he mentions Severus Snape, Dumbledore vouches for his innocence, explaining that Snape was a spy against Voldemort before his fall. Karkaroff names Barty Crouch Jr. Devastated, Barty Crouch Sr. imprisons his son in Azkaban. Upon emerging from the Pensieve, Harry realizes that the man he saw in his dream is actually Barty Crouch Jr. For the final task, the champions enter the hedge maze and must reach the Triwizard Cup. Under the influence of the Imperious Curse, one of the participants incapacitates Fleur. After Harry saves Cedric from an attack by the maze, the two decide to share the victory and grab the cup together, only to discover that it is a portkey that transports them to a graveyard, where Pettigrew and Voldemort are waiting. Pettigrew kills Cedric with the Avada Kedavra curse and performs a ritual to resurrect Voldemort. Voldemort then summons the Death Eaters and frees Harry to duel him, seeking to prove he is the superior wizard. Unable to escape, Harry casts Expelliarmus at the same moment Voldemort utters the killing curse. Their spells collide, and Voldemort's wand regurgitates the last spells it cast. The spirits of those he murdered, including Harry's parents and Cedric, appear. As Voldemort and the Death Eaters are momentarily distracted, Harry seizes the opportunity to escape, taking Cedric's body and using the portkey. Upon returning, Harry tells Dumbledore that Voldemort has returned and that he killed Cedric. Moody takes Harry to his office for questioning about Voldemort but accidentally reveals his true identity when he asks whether anyone else was in the graveyard, something Harry never mentioned. Moody admits to placing Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire and manipulating him throughout the tournament to ensure his victory. As Moody attempts to attack Harry, Dumbledore, Snape, and Minerva McGonagall intervene and subdue him. They force him to drink Veritaserum, the truth serum, and he reveals that the real Moody is imprisoned in a magical trunk. When the effects of Polyjuice Potion wear off, the false Moody is exposed as Barty Crouch Jr., who is then sent back to Azkaban. Dumbledore informs the students that Voldemort killed Cedric, despite the Ministry of Magic denying the truth. Later, Dumbledore visits Harry in his dormitory and apologizes for the dangers he has faced. Harry reveals that he saw his parents in the graveyard. Shortly after, the three schools bid farewell to one another. During another summer with Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon, Harry Potter and Dudley are attacked by Dementors. After using magic to save himself and Dudley, Harry is expelled from Hogwarts, but the decision is later overturned after a hearing at the Ministry of Magic. A group of wizards, including Mad-Eye Moody, Remus Lupin, and several new faces like Nymphadora Tonks and Kingsley Shacklebolt, take Harry to 12 Grimmauld Place, the childhood home of his godfather, Sirius Black. This building also serves as the headquarters of the Order of the Phoenix, a secret organization founded by Albus Dumbledore. They inform Harry that the Ministry of Magic is unaware of Lord Voldemort's return. At the Order's headquarters, Sirius Black mentions that Voldemort is searching for an object he did not possess during his previous attack. At Hogwarts, Harry learns that Minister of Magic Cornelius Fudge has appointed a new defense against the dark arts professor, Dolores Umbridge. She and Harry immediately clash, and she punishes him by forcing him to write lines with a magical quill that carves the words into his hand. When his friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger, notice the scars, they are horrified, but Harry refuses to go to Dumbledore, who has been distancing himself from him since the summer. As Umbridge's control over the school strengthens, Ron and Hermione help Harry form a secret group to train students in defensive spells called Dumbledore's Army. Umbridge recruits Slytherin students to uncover their group. Meanwhile, Harry and Cho Chang develop romantic feelings for each other. Harry has a vision of Arthur Weasley being attacked from the attacker's perspective. Fearing that Voldemort may exploit this connection, Dumbledore orders Severus Snape to teach Harry a clemency to protect his mind from Voldemort's influence. Meanwhile, Bellatrix Lestrange, Sirius's deranged cousin and a Death Eater, escapes from Azkaban along with 9 other Death Eaters. At Hogwarts, Umbridge and her inquisitorial squad discover Dumbledore's army. Dumbledore escapes as Fudge orders his arrest, and Umbridge becomes the new headmistress. Harry's relationship with Cho falls apart as he believes she betrayed him and revealed Dumbledore's army to Umbridge. Through Snape's memories, Harry discovers the reason for Snape's hatred toward his father, James, who often humiliated him. Harry experiences another vision, seeing Sirius being tortured by Voldemort. He, Ron, and Hermione attempt to use Umbridge's fireplace to alert the Order, but she stops them. As she tortures Harry, Hermione tricks her into venturing into the Forbidden Forest in search of Dumbledore's secret weapon. There, centaurs intercept them, and after Umbridge insults and attacks them, they take her away. Harry, Hermione, Ron, Luna Lovegood, Neville Longbottom, and Ginny Weasley fly to the Ministry of Magic on Thestrals to rescue Sirius. They arrive at the Department of Mysteries, where they find a sealed prophecy, the object Voldemort has been seeking. However, they are ambushed by Death Eaters, including Lucius Malfoy and Bellatrix Lestrange. Lucius reveals that Harry's vision was a ruse designed to lure him into a trap. The Death Eaters take Harry's friends hostage and threaten to kill them unless he surrenders the prophecy. Reluctantly, Harry hands it over, but then Sirius, Lupin, and other Order members, Tonks, Kingsley, and Moody, arrive to fight. During the battle, Lucius drops the prophecy, destroying it. In the midst of the chaos, Bellatrix kills Sirius. Voldemort appears, but Dumbledore soon arrives and duels him. Their battle devastates much of the Ministry's atrium. When Voldemort realizes they are evenly matched, he tries to possess Harry, hoping Dumbledore will kill him to stop Voldemort. However, Harry's love and grief for his friends and Sirius prevent Voldemort from maintaining control over him. Ministry officials arrive just in time to witness Voldemort before he flees. Fudge is forced to admit that Voldemort has returned and resigns in disgrace. Umbridge is removed from Hogwarts, and Dumbledore returns as headmaster. Dumbledore explains to Harry that he distanced himself to prevent Voldemort from using him. Harry then comes to terms with the prophecy's truth. Neither can live while the other survives. After the death of her parents, young Sylvia Brown moves in with her eccentric great-uncle Guma, a paleontologist who often travels. Years later, he adopts 3 orphans, Pauline, Petrova, and Posey. Each child has different talents. Pauline loves acting, Posey excels in ballet, and Petrova is passionate about mechanics and airplanes. During the Great Depression, money runs out, and Sylvia takes in boarders to support the family. The girls start attending a performing arts school to help earn money. Pauline succeeds in acting, but must cope with fame and humility. Posey shows extraordinary ballet talent, while Petrova, although not fond of the stage, agrees to perform out of duty to her family. When Sylvia becomes seriously ill, the family faces the prospect of selling the house. Posey runs away to join a prestigious ballet school, Pauline accepts a film contract to help her sisters, and Sylvia prepares for a trip to Hollywood. In the end, Guma unexpectedly returns and promises to help Petrova fulfill her dream of flying. The film concludes with hope that all three girls will achieve their dreams and make history. During the annual Royal Soup Day in the Kingdom of Dor, Sailor Pietro and his rat companion Roscuro arrived in the enchanting French kingdom known for its exquisite soups. The kingdom's master chef, André, was preparing his delicious creations with the help of Belot, a magical culinary spirit who lived in his pot. However, Roscuro's curiosity led him to the royal banquet hall, where he accidentally fell into Queen Rosemary's soup, causing her to suffer a fatal heart attack. Devastated by the tragedy, Roscuro discovered that Pietro had abandoned him, leaving him to fend for himself in the castle dungeons. Roscuro found refuge with Belli Rimorso, the mysterious leader of the rat population of D, but he struggled to adapt to their aggressive culture. Meanwhile, grief-stricken King Philip banned everything related to soup and declared rats illegal. This not only prevented André from making his beloved soup, but also drove Belot away. Without the life-giving soup, the city began to fall into poverty and despair. Princess P, deeply affected by her father's sorrow, mourned the kingdom's decline and her own growing isolation from the world. In a mouse village inside an abandoned pantry, Despero was born into the Tilling family. From the start, he stood out, born with unusually large ears. He wasn't blind and didn't cry at birth. As he grew, it became clear he was different, brave and curious, which alarmed the other mice. Trying to teach him how to be a proper mouse, his brother Furlough took him to the royal library to learn how to gnaw on books, but Despero preferred reading them and became enchanted by their stories. One day, Despero met Princess P and promised to finish the story of the captured princess and tell her how it ends. When it was discovered that Despero had broken mouse law by speaking with humans, his parents, Lester and Antoinette, turned him into the Mouse Council to avoid blame. The council found Despero guilty of courage and exiled him. He was lowered into the dungeons by the blind Threadmaster Hovis, using a red thread. The other mice believed he was dead. In the dungeons, Despero told the story of the princess to Gregory the jailer, who stopped listening and left him alone. Despero was captured by rats and thrown into an arena with a cat. Just as the cat was about to devour him, Roscuro saved him, convincing Belli to hand him over under the pretense of eating him. Unable to adapt to life among the sewer rats, Roscuro desperately longed to hear stories of the outside world. He and Despero became friends, with Despero telling him daily stories about the princess and her sadness. Wishing to atone for the harm he caused, Roscuro sneaked into Princess P's room and tried to apologize, but she attacked him, and guards chased him away. Hurt, Roscuro vowed revenge. He teamed up with Mig Migo, a young, hard-of-hearing maid who dreamed of becoming a princess, convincing her she could take P's place if she kidnapped her. After Mig dragged P into the dungeons, Roscuro betrayed her and locked her in a cell. Meanwhile, Despero discovered the princess was in danger and tried to alert the king, who was too depressed to listen. Despero tried to seek help from others. He returned to the mouse village and asked his family for aid, but they feared him, thinking he was a ghost because he was covered in flour. To prove he was alive, he rang the town bell. André heard the bell, which reminded him of the days he made soups, and decided to break the ban and cook again, bringing Belot back. Despero tried to enlist help from André and Belot, but had limited success, as André was distracted by a thunderstorm caused by the scent of soup in the air. Belot agreed and led Despero back into the dungeons. On the way, they were attacked by rats. Belot sacrificed himself so Despero could reach the arena. In the arena, Roscuro saw true remorse in P's eyes and regretted his actions. Still, the enraged Belli ordered the rats to eat the princess. Despero released the cat, which scattered some of the rats, and he fought off the others. Belli captured Despero, but the clouds parted and sunlight reflected off a heart-shaped locket, blinding the sewer rats who couldn't bear the light. Roscuro saved Despero by using a reflector to direct sunlight onto Belli, who fell into the arena, where the cat chased him back into a cage. The princess locked them inside, leaving Belly to be eaten as the other rats fled into the shadows. Afterward, Mig was reunited with Gregory, revealed to be her long-lost father, and they returned to live on a farm. Meanwhile, the king let go of his grief and lifted the bans on Soup and Rats. The rain stopped, and sunlight shone once again over Dor. Roscuro returned to his life at sea, while Despero, who had inspired the other mice to be brave, set off on a journey to see the world. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Lord Voldemort tightens his grip on both worlds, the Wizarding and the Muggle, kidnapping Ollivander from Diagon Alley and destroying the Millennium Bridge after the Malfoy family is disgraced, as Lucius is arrested and sent to Azkaban for his involvement with the Death Eaters. Voldemort chooses Draco to carry out a secret mission at Hogwarts. Bellatrix Lestrange and Narcissa Malfoy, Draco's mother, seek help from Severus Snape, who claims he has been a spy within the Order of the Phoenix all along. Snape makes an unbreakable vow with Narcissa to protect Draco and carry out the mission, and if he fails, 16-year-old Harry Potter and Albus Dumbledore visit former potions master Horace Slughorn. Professor Slughorn had been in hiding but agrees to return and teach at Hogwarts. Dumbledore then takes Harry to the Weasleys' home, where Harry reunites with his best friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. When the three of them visit Fred and George Weasley at their new joke shop in Diagon Alley, they see Draco entering Knockturn Alley with a group of Death Eaters, including Fenrir Greyback. Harry believes Voldemort has made Draco a Death Eater, but Ron and Hermione are skeptical. On the Hogwarts Express, Harry hides in the Slytherin compartment using his invisibility cloak. Draco spots him, petrifies him, and breaks his nose. Harry is found and saved by Luna Lovegood. At Hogwarts, Harry and Ron borrow textbooks for Slughorn's potions class, and Harry keeps a book that turns out to be very helpful, containing notes and spells left by the Half-Blood Prince. Harry uses the book to excel in class and impress Slughorn, winning a vial of Felix Felicis. Ron becomes the keeper of the Gryffindor Quidditch team and starts a romantic relationship with Lavender Brown, which upsets Hermione. Harry comforts Hermione and admits he now has feelings for Ron's younger sister, Ginny Weasley. Harry spends Christmas with the Weasleys. On Christmas Eve, Harry discusses his suspicions about Draco with the Order of the Phoenix. His suspicions are dismissed by the Order, but later Arthur Weasley privately tells Harry that the Malfoys might be interested in the Vanishing Cabinet. Bellatrix and Greyback attack the burrow and set it on fire, drawing Harry into a battle while trying to save Ginny before the Order arrives and rescues them. At Hogwarts, Dumbledore reveals to Harry that Slughorn possesses a memory about Voldemort that Dumbledore desperately needs. Slughorn gives Dumbledore the memory, but it is an altered version that shows Slughorn knows nothing. Dumbledore shows Harry the altered memory and asks him to confront Slughorn and obtain the true memory, but when Harry brings it up, Slughorn becomes angry and refuses to discuss it further after Ron accidentally drinks a love potion. Harry takes him to Slughorn for treatment and to smooth over their previous conflict. After he cures Ron, the three of them celebrate with me, because Slughorn had intended to give Dumbledore poison honey, and Ron was poisoned. Harry is forced to save his life after Slughorn hesitates. Ron whispers Hermione's name while recovering in the hospital, which causes Lavender to break up with him. Harry confronts Draco about the poison honey and the cursed necklace, which leads to a duel. Harry uses a curse from the Half-Blood Prince's potion book to seriously injure Malfoy, who is saved and healed by Professor Snape. Fearing that the book might contain more dark magic, Ginny and Harry hide it in the room of requirement and share their first kiss. Harry decides to use his luck potion to convince Slughorn to hand over the memory Dumbledore needs. Harry examines the memory with Dumbledore and learns that Voldemort sought information about creating Horcruxes, magical objects in which pieces of a wizard's soul can be hidden, thus preserving them from death. Dumbledore concludes that Voldemort succeeded in creating 7 Horcruxes, 2 of which have already been destroyed, Tom Riddle's diary and Marvolo's ring. Harry and Dumbledore travel to a cave on the seacoast, where Harry helps Dumbledore drink a potion that hides another Horcrux, Slytherin's locket. Weakened, Dumbledore defends them from Inferi, and they return to Hogwarts. Bellatrix, Greyback, and other Death Eaters enter Hogwarts with Draco's help through a vanishing cabinet in the Room of Requirement, which Draco managed to connect to the one he worked on in Knockturn Alley. Dumbledore orders Harry to hide and not interfere, no matter what happens. Draco reaches the Astronomy Tower and disarms Dumbledore, revealing that Voldemort chose him to kill the headmaster. When Draco couldn't do it, Snape casts the killing curse and kills Dumbledore, who falls from the tower. Harry attacks Snape, but Snape overpowers him and reveals that he is the Half-Blood Prince before fleeing. Harry returns to Hogwarts, where students, teachers, and several guests mourn Dumbledore's death. Later, Harry tells Ron and Hermione that the Horcrux with the locket was a fake. The locket contains a message from Regulus, stating that he stole the real Horcrux with the intention of destroying it, rather than returning it. Before they return for their final year at Hogwarts, the three decide to endure and track down the remaining Horcruxes. Minister of Magic Rufus Scrimgeour addresses the wizarding media, declaring that the Ministry remains strong even as Lord Voldemort gains power. Death Eaters are killing Muggles en masse and infiltrating the Ministry. Harry Potter, Ron Weasley, and Hermione Granger set out on the mission Dumbledore entrusted to Harry to find and destroy Voldemort's Horcruxes. Severus Snape informs Voldemort and the Death Eaters that Harry will soon leave Privet Drive. Voldemort takes Lucius Malfoy's wand, as he cannot use his own to kill Harry. They share the same core. The Order of the Phoenix escorts Harry to safety using Polyjuice Potion to create decoys. During the flight, they are ambushed by Death Eaters. Alastor Moody and Hedwig are killed. George Weasley is injured, and Hagrid is knocked unconscious. Upon arriving at the Burrow, Harry has a vision of Voldemort torturing wand maker Ollivander. The next day, Scrimgeour arrives with Dumbledore's will. Ron receives the Deluminator, Hermione a copy of the Tales of Beedle the Bard, and Harry the first golden snitch he caught in a Quidditch match. Scrimgeour reveals that Harry was also left the sword of Godric Gryffindor, but it did not belong to Dumbledore and is missing. Death Eaters kill Scrimgeour and install Pius Thickness as the new minister. The Ministry begins arresting and persecuting Muggle-born witches and wizards. At Bill Weasley and Fleur Delacour's wedding, the Death Eaters attack. Harry, Hermione, and Ron flee to London but are attacked again in a cafe. They find refuge at 12, Grimmauld Place. They discover that Araby from the fake Horcrux is Regulus Arcturus Black, Sirius Black's younger brother. The house elf creature reveals that Mundungus Fletcher stole many items from the house, including the real locket. Creature and Dobby find Fletcher, who reveals that Dolores Umbridge now possesses the locket. Using Polyjuice Potion, the trio infiltrates the Ministry and retrieves the locket from around Umbridge's neck. Harry is knocked unconscious, Hermione takes the locket, and they escape into the wilderness. Ron is injured and cannot apparate until he heals. After several failed attempts to destroy the Horcrux, they take turns wearing it to lessen its effects. Harry has a vision of Voldemort torturing and killing wand maker Gregorovitch, who claims a teenage boy stole the legendary Elder Wand from his shop. While wearing the locket, Ron succumbs to dark emotions, argues with Harry, and leaves. Hermione deduces that the Sword of Gryffindor can destroy Horcruxes, so she and Harry travel to Godric's Hollow. They visit Harry's parents' graves and the house where they were killed. They meet Bathilda Bagshot, whom they believe knows about the sword. She takes them to her house, but is revealed to be controlled by Nagini, Voldemort's snake. Harry and Hermione escape to the Forest of Dean, but Hermione accidentally breaks Harry's wand while fighting Nagini. She identifies the thief from Harry's vision as Gellert Grindelwald. Harry sees a silver doe Patronus, which leads him to a frozen pond. The Sword of Gryffindor lies beneath the ice. Harry breaks the ice and dives in, but the locket tries to drown him. Ron appears and saves him. Harry speaks Parseltongue to open the locket, and Ron destroys it with the sword. Ron and Hermione reconcile, and the trio decides to visit Xenophilius Lovegood to learn more about the symbol from the book Dumbledore left Hermione. Lovegood explains that the symbol represents the Deathly Hallows, 3 magical items that together make one the Master of Death. Hermione reads a tale of the Hallows, but Lovegood betrays them to the Death Eaters in exchange for his daughter Luna, who has been kidnapped. The trio escapes, and Lovegood's house is destroyed. While hiding in the forest, the trio is captured by Snatchers. Hermione uses a spell to disguise Harry's face. They are taken to Malfoy Manor, where Bellatrix Lestrange imprisons Harry and Ron in the cellar with Luna, Ollivander, and the Goblin Griphook. Bellatrix tortures Hermione for information about the sword, claiming it was in her Gringotts vault. Harry calls for help using a shard of mirror he carries. Dobby appears and rescues them. Harry and Ron rush to save Hermione. During the fight, Harry disarms Draco Malfoy. Dobby drops a chandelier on Bellatrix and frees Hermione. Bellatrix throws a knife as Dobby operates them to Shell Cottage. However, the knife fatally wounds Dobby. Harry insists on burying him without magic. Meanwhile, Voldemort breaks into Dumbledore's tomb and retrieves the Elder Wand, revealing it had been in Dumbledore's possession all along. After burying Dobby, Harry Potter asks the Goblin Griphook to help him. Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger break into Bellatrix Lestrange's vault at Gringotts Bank, suspecting a Horcrux might be hidden there. Griphook agrees in exchange for the Sword of Gryffindor. Wand maker Ollivander tells Harry that the 2 wands taken from Malfoy Manor belong to Bellatrix and Draco Malfoy, but Draco's wand has changed its allegiance and now belongs to Harry. Inside Bellatrix's vault, Harry discovers that the Horcrux is Helga Hufflepuff's cup. He takes it, but Griphook grabs the sword and abandons the trio. leaving them trapped by security. They free the guard dragon and escape on its back. Harry has a vision of Voldemort killing goblins, including Griphook, and learns that Voldemort is aware of the theft. He also realizes that another Horcrux is hidden at Hogwarts, connected to Rowena Ravenclaw. The trio operates to Hogsmeade, where the cafe owner reluctantly tells a portrait of his deceased sister Ariana to summon Neville Longbottom, who leads them through a secret passage into Hogwarts. Severus Snape learns of Harry's return and warns the staff and students that anyone who helps him will be punished. Harry confronts Snape, who flees after Minerva McGonagall challenges him to a duel. McGonagall gathers the entire Hogwarts community to prepare for battle. Encouraged by Luna Lovegood, Harry speaks with the ghost of Helena Ravenclaw, who reveals that Voldemort enchanted her mother's diadem with dark magic, and it is now hidden in the Room of Requirement. In the Chamber of Secrets, Hermione destroys the Horcrux, the cup, with a basilisk fang. In the Room of Requirement, Draco and two friends attack Harry, but Ron and Hermione come to his aid. One of Draco's friends unleashes the Fiendfire curse, which he cannot control, and dies in the flames, while Harry and his friends save Draco and the other boy. Harry stabs the basilisk fang into the diadem, and Ron kicks it into the fire, destroying it. As Voldemort attacks Hogwarts, Harry sees through his mind that Voldemort's snake Nagini is the final Horcrux. The trio heads to the boathouse, where they witness Voldemort ordering Nagini to kill Snape, believing that the Elder Wand won't truly serve anyone else until Snape is dead. Snape dies, but before that, he tells Harry to take his memories to the Pensieve. In the chaos of the battle, Fred Weasley, Remus Lupin, and Nymphadora Tonks are killed. From Snape's memories, Harry learns that Snape hated his father James, who bullied him, but loved his mother Lily. After her death, Snape secretly worked with Dumbledore to protect Harry out of love for Lily. Harry also learns that Dumbledore was dying and wanted Snape to kill him. The Patronus in the forest that led Harry to the sword had been Snape's. Harry discovers that he himself became a Horcrux when Voldemort first tried to kill him, and that he must die in order to destroy the piece of Voldemort's soul inside him. Harry then surrenders to Voldemort in the Forbidden Forest. Voldemort casts the killing curse on him. Harry finds himself in a limbo-like state, where he is greeted by Dumbledore, who explains that the piece of Voldemort within him has been destroyed by his own curse. Harry returns to his body, determined to defeat Voldemort once and for all. Voldemort announces Harry's death to everyone at Hogwarts and demands their surrender. Neville defies him, pulling the sword of Gryffindor from the Sorting Hat. At that moment, Harry reveals he is alive. The Malfoys and many Death Eaters abandon Voldemort. Molly Weasley kills Bellatrix in the Great Hall, and Neville beheads Nagini, making Voldemort mortal. In the final duel, Voldemort's own curse rebounds and kills him. After the battle, Harry explains to Ron and Hermione that the Elder Wand recognized him as its true master because he disarmed Draco, who had previously disarmed Dumbledore. Instead of keeping it, Harry breaks the wand and throws it away. 19 years later, Harry, Ginny, Ron, Hermione, and Draco proudly watch their children leave for Hogwarts from King's Cross Station. After graduating from Oxford in 1956, Colin Clark arrives in London, hoping to work on Laurence Olivier's film The Prince and the Showgirl, starring Marilyn Monroe. With the help of Olivier's wife, Vivian Leigh, he lands a job as a production assistant. On set, he meets Lucy, a costume assistant, and they begin a romance. Meanwhile, Marilyn arrives in England with her husband Arthur Miller and her entourage, but soon begins to show signs of insecurity and causes delays during filming. Olivier becomes increasingly frustrated, while Marilyn starts to trust Colin, who offers her support. Colin and Marilyn spend a special day together and grow closer, which Lucy notices, prompting her to end the relationship. Nevertheless, Marilyn decides to try and save her marriage with Arthur and cuts off contact with Colin. At the end of filming, she thanks him for his support and says goodbye, leaving Colin with memories of a brief, but meaningful chapter in his life. Charlie is a shy kid who has recently been discharged from the hospital. He is writing a letter to an unknown pen pal because tomorrow is his first day of high school. He wants things to change, but his shyness gets the better of him. At lunch, he wishes to have company, but his elder sister Candace refuses since her Earth club is senior only. Charlie then turns toward his old friend Susan, but she ignores him. In one of his classes, Charlie is introduced to Patrick, a senior who has to repeat a freshman class. Charlie's last class is English, and Mr. Anderson notices Charlie writing all the correct answers to his questions in his notebook. After everybody is left, Mr. Anderson encourages Charlie to participate more. He knows Charlie has had a rough year and empathizes with him. But Charlie assures Mr. Anderson he's okay. But high school can be tough, so Charlie decides not to tell his parents about it, or they will worry about him. He wishes that his Aunt Helen was there. She would have understood how he is both happy and sad. Charlie wishes he would make friends soon, but that doesn't seem likely to happen anytime soon, as he still gets mistreated and eats lunch alone. But things change one day when Charlie musters up courage and talks to Patrick from a shop class. They are watching a football game, and Charlie starts a conversation with him. They are soon joined by Sam. Charlie gets to hang out with them after the game. They have food together and talk about music. Charlie shares that his Aunt Helen said he should be a writer. Sam advises Charlie to write about her and Patrick adds a hilarious name to it. Charlie asks them how long they've been dating, as they seem very happy. Both laugh, and Sam tells him that Patrick is her stepbrother. They give him a ride back home. Charlie is happy after a very long time, but his smile soon disappears when he sees his sister's boyfriend. Derek slaps his sister after an argument. He tries to intervene, but Candace pushes him out of her room and says she can handle it. Charlie keeps getting flashbacks of his Aunt Helen. At the homecoming, Charlie is standing alone against the wall. Finally, when they start playing good music, Sam and Patrick take it to the dance floor and perform their living room routine. Seeing them have so much fun, Charlie decides to join them. After the homecoming, they take Charlie to their friend Bob's party. There, Charlie unknowingly eats a brownie and soon starts entertaining everybody with his hilariously honest opinions. He asks for a milkshake, so Sam makes him one with the ice cream. They start talking, and Charlie reveals he had a friend, Michael, whom he lost last year. Sam is stunned to hear this and feels bad for Charlie. While looking for the bathroom, Charlie walks in on Patrick and Brad, the most popular guy in school. Patrick makes him promise not to tell anybody, and Charlie promises. Sam talks to Patrick about Charlie having no friends. So Patrick raises a toast to Charlie the Wallflower and their new friend. This gesture touches Charlie. Sam welcomes Charlie to the island of misfit toys. The three go out for a ride after the party. An unknown song plays on the radio, and Sam says they have to go through the tunnel. This is the perfect song for standing up behind the Jeep and spreading her arms as the Jeep cuts through the freezing winds. Charlie looks at Sam and can imagine how liberated and infinite it must feel. With Sam and Patrick by his side, Charlie has started indulging in a lot of activities after the party that he thought he never would, like listening to Sam's collection of songs, reading extra books outside class, and writing essays. It turns out Mr. Anderson is also a writer and helps him with his extra activities. Charlie's favorite time is lunch, when he meets Sam, Patrick, and Mary Elizabeth, who acts like his father after a long day, and Alice, who steals jeans from the stores even though her family is wealthy. Charlie likes Sam and makes a mixtape for her, so she knows how he feels. Charlie also visits the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where Patrick and Sam are participating. At the after-party, Charlie finds Sam sitting alone. He asks if everything is okay. She is worried she wouldn't get into Pennsylvania State University because she didn't score well on her Scholastic Assessment test. Charlie offers to help her study for the next exam. He gets jealous when he sees Sam dance with her boyfriend, Craig, a photography student. In college, Charlie starts tutoring Sam. Soon it is Christmas, and Charlie helps Sam with her secret Santa plan. Mr. Anderson gives Charlie his copy of his favorite book as a Christmas present. At the Christmas party, Charlie gives personalized gifts to Sam, Mary Elizabeth, Alice, Bob, and Patrick, and gets them emotional. Sam gives Charlie a typewriter to thank him for his help. They talk a little, and Sam reveals her troubled past. Charlie tells her his aunt had something similar done to her, but she changed her life around. And so can Sam. Charlie tells her his aunt was his favorite person in the world until now, indicating Sam has taken that place. Charlie's family takes extra care to make Charlie's birthday special, because it was on this day he lost his Aunt Helen in an accident. He frequently gets the flashback, and after the New Year's party, he wanders off into the street and lies on the fresh snow to make a snow angel as he remembers his aunt. He soon passes out and wakes up in the hospital. His parents and an officer questioned him about the incident, but he denied taking anything and said he was tired. Craig was supposed to be the Rocky for the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but he didn't show up. Charlie is asked to play his part. Charlie enjoys himself on the stage. After the show, Mary Elizabeth asks Charlie to go to the school dance with her. They soon get into a pseudo-relationship, but Charlie cannot get Sam out of his head. Charlie goes along with the relationship because he is too good to hurt somebody's feelings. But he soon gets an opportunity. One might consider it one of the worst ways to break up, but it had to be done. The group is playing Truth and Dare, and Patrick asks Charlie to kiss the prettiest girl in the room. Mary Elizabeth expects it to be her, but Charlie turns towards Sam, to her dismay, upsetting both Sam and Mary Elizabeth. He apologizes, but a simple apology wouldn't work for the mess he has created. Patrick advises him to stay away for a while. It has been 2 weeks since he has not spoken to his friends. He feels he is going back to the dark place as the flashbacks come very often now. One day Bob tells him that Brad's father caught Brad and Patrick together. One day, Charlie thinks Patrick needs a friend right now, so he approaches him in school only to be shunned. During lunch, Charlie is sitting alone. One of Brad's friends trips Patrick and Brad laughs at Patrick with them. He then calls Patrick some very derogatory things, and a fight breaks out. Brad's friends corner Patrick. Sam tries to intervene, but is pushed aside. Charlie comes to rescue Patrick, but blacks out. When he regains his senses, he sees his knuckles bruised and Brad and his friends on the ground. He warns them to stay away from his friend. He ends up in the principal's office, but Brad tells the principal what happened and saves Charlie from detention. While coming out of the office, he thanks Charlie for stopping his friends. Sam meets Charlie outside school. She asks how he is doing, and Charlie confesses that he doesn't remember doing anything. Sam tells him he saved her brother. Charlie is concerned that now she might be scared of him, but Sam says she is not. Charlie gets back to being part of the group again. Mary Elizabeth tells Charlie she is dating Peter, a college student like Craig. Charlie is happy for her. Patrick asks Charlie if he wants to get out of there, and Charlie agrees. They go to sit on a bench, and Patrick breaks down, telling Charlie what had happened with him and Brad. Charlie starts spending more time with Patrick to help him heal. Sam soon got an acceptance letter from Penn State. Sam is leaving right after graduation, and Patrick is going to the University of Washington. But he was not going to leave without organizing the best senior prank ever. He had painted all the tools baby pink. It is the last day of school before the summer break starts. Charlie asks Mr. Anderson if he is leaving for New York, but Mr. Anderson says he likes it here. Charlie tells Mr. Anderson he is the best teacher he has ever had and hugs him. Mr. Anderson smiles as Charlie leaves. Last day. All the students do a countdown for the final bell of the year and cheer as it rings. The group decides to see the last sunset of their last day of high school together. Candace finally broke up with Derek and went to prom with her friends. Charlie clicked many pictures of his friends as they got ready for their prom. He was happy because his friends were happy. After prom, Sam discovers Craig has been cheating on her this whole time. Charlie comes to her graduation ceremony and hugs her. He believes it is her time to shine after whatever happened. At Sam's going-away party, Charlie wanted to tell Sam about their ride and how for the first time, he felt as if he belonged somewhere. She will be leaving the next day, so Charlie gives her all his books because they are a part of him. Sam gets emotional. Charlie stays with her late, helping her pack. She tells Charlie she had lunch with Craig for the first time after they broke up. She wonders why they pick people who treat them like they are nothing. Charlie repeats what Mr. Anderson had once said to him. We accept the love we think we deserve. He tells her that he wants her to be happy. They confide in each other about their feelings. The next day, Sam leaves. Charlie's mental health deteriorates as he starts banging his head repeatedly, saying, "My fault." He tells himself to stop crying as tears keep rolling down his cheeks. He calls Candace, who is at her friend's place, and blames himself for Aunt Helen's accident. Candace quickly asks her friends to call the cops and send them to her house. The police break opens the door and finds Charlie unconscious. He is taken to the hospital, where he meets with a psychiatrist, Dr. Burton. She helps him by getting his repressed memories back so they can address them. It is revealed that Charlie's aunt took advantage of him when he was a child, and Charlie's parents break down when Dr. Burton tells them this. Charlie stayed in the hospital for several days. Sam and Patrick visit him once he is released from the hospital. Sam tells him she found the tunnel song, and they go for a ride. Only this time it is Charlie spreading his wings with the love of his life, knowing he's not a sad story, but alive, listening to the song, and in this moment, he believes we all are infinite. We see a group of teenage girls and one boy climbing over the fence of a luxurious estate. They reach the house and find an unlocked sliding door, go inside, and take whatever they can. They empty the closets of shoes, handbags, and even underwear. Later, we find out the boy's name is Mark, and together with the girls, he posts pictures of the stolen items on social media. Unfortunately, this movie is based on real events that took place in California. Some teenagers really did think it was a good idea to rob their favorite celebrities. I have to repeat the earlier warning. Do not try this at home. It won't end well. We meet Nikki, who tells the media about her belief in karma and says the whole situation was actually a life lesson for her. A year earlier, Nikki and Sam are woken up by their mom. They talk about how they behaved the night before. They go downstairs and have to face Lori, who knows they were out late. After morning prayer, we move on to Mark, who's getting ready for school. His mom drops him off on his first day, but the other students don't exactly welcome him warmly. Still, later he's accepted by Rebecca, who asks him about his previous school. Rebecca doesn't seem like a good influence. She invites him to the beach after school, and I have to say, her friend Chloe knows all the words to a rap song and performs it aggressively. At the beach, they smoke a joint. It turns out Rebecca is probably the best friend Mark could have had at that school, judging by the others. Rebecca tells Mark she wants to go to fashion school after high school and invites him and Chloe to her house that evening because her parents are out of town. They flip through fashion magazines, then go out on the street to check out cars. Yes, literally that. She walks down the street checking if cars are unlocked. When they are, she takes purses and other valuables. Is this how rich kids have fun these days? They end up with around $400, and the next scene shows Mark being questioned by the police about how he met Rebecca. He says he never saw himself as a star among teens and that he had fun with her. Rebecca asks if he knows anyone who's currently out of town. When he tells her about a guy, she takes him to the guy's house, and she just walks right in. She wanders around, takes things like they belong to her, unbothered by cameras or alarms. She walks out with a purse worth more than my car, takes some cash, and the keys to a sports car. Rebecca and Mark go shopping and drive around the city. Later, they go to a club with Chloe and run into Sam and Nikki. The club is full of celebrities, and Nikki mentions she's going to meet Jude Law. The next day, Mark researches celebrities and finds out that Paris Hilton is going to a party, so she won't be home. Rebecca pressures him to find the address. They go that night, and even though Paris's pet monkey surprises them, they enter and explore the house. Mark tries to convince her to leave, but when Rebecca finds Paris's closet, there's no way she's walking out empty-handed. She takes stuff, poses for a picture Mark takes, and then they go to a party with the other girls. Rebecca shows them everything she took. We return to Nikki, who claims she didn't know what they were doing and blames it all on bad influences. Biggest liar ever. She literally told Rebecca she wanted to go to Paris's house because she had to steal something. The whole crew goes to Paris's house. Rebecca shows them everything, including the shoe closet and a secret safe full of jewelry. They even find Polaroid photos they plan to sell. They party in the in-house club, drink, and Nikki dances on a pole. The next day, Nikki says her values were out of bounds, but she's okay for now. After school, Mark picks out clothes for the week when Rebecca texts him. They're going back to Paris's. This time they have to hide because security is coming, but they still manage to escape. On the way back, Rebecca finds drugs in the car, and later they snort them while singing in the car. Rebecca watches an interview with Audrina from the Hills and pushes Mark to find her address. Mark, stop doing her dirty work. Still, they go to Audrina's house, steal as much as they can, and run. At home, they call the other girls, try on makeup and clothes, document everything, and post it on social media. The next day, they sell some of the stolen stuff at the park. On their next robbery trip, they hit Megan Fox's house, and Nikki brings her younger sister Emily. Chloe stays outside as the lookout, but Mark gets nervous inside. Nikki finds a gun under the bed, and she and Sam start playing with it. Sam points it at Mark, who's not too happy to have a gun in his face. I wouldn't be either. Also, she clearly took some pills from the bathroom and is currently the most unstable of all of them. She sneaks into her boyfriend's room through the window and teases him with a gun, but he acts like everything's fine, and she fires the gun. Does it stop anything? Of course not. They continue, but it was so easy for her to miss. The robberies continue whenever a new popular celebrity shows they're not home. Next is Miranda Kerr, and they sneak down the driveway, hiding their faces from the camera. Later, Mark is caught on camera, but the crew keeps their usual pace like nothing's wrong. Mark meets up with Chloe to meet a guy and sell watches he took from a house. After a deal for $5,000, Mark goes to the bathroom to snort cocaine with Rebecca before returning to join the party. No one cares while they drink, dance, and flaunt their money. This could be the grand moment before the fall, and given everything they've done, the crash is coming soon. The next day, Mark and the girls walk the streets, dressed to impress, looking untouchable. They even bring Sam's boyfriend to Paris, and he asks what he can find. Later, Mark helps Nikki with her wardrobe, but gets a call from Rebecca to turn on the news. The news shows footage of when Rebecca and Nikki broke into Audrina's house, and now Mark starts to worry about the possibility of being caught. Later, Mark meets Chloe and Rebecca at the beach, and Rebecca mentions wanting to break into another house. Mark and Chloe tell her to relax after the news, but Rebecca doesn't care. The whole crew gets together to rob another house that night, but suddenly, they see lights through the window, so they grab what they can and run out of the house. The only one who didn't show up was Chloe. Well, obviously nothing happened, so Rebecca will think she's invincible. Of course, they just keep going, not even bothering to tell us whose house they broke into. It seems they've robbed them all, and how much cocaine they can handle is clearly a lot. Rebecca's ultimate white whale is Lindsay Lohan, and they finally break into her house. What they don't see is that they're on camera as they leave the house. Later, Mark takes Rebecca to the airport, and she's off to Vegas to stay with her dad for a while. On the news, it turns out many celebrities have come forward, offering security camera footage showing figures in hats entering their homes. That's enough for people to start whispering. Many of their peers who saw them at parties told the police exactly what they had heard. Suddenly, the police arrive at Mark's house with a search warrant and find all the stolen property he's still holding. The same thing happens at Lauren's house, but they only get word that Nikki was involved. Nikki is arrested and taken away with the stolen items. Everyone is arrested except Sam, while Mark sits to be interrogated. They ask him if he knew that Rebecca had left the country, leaving him to take all the blame, and Mark tells them he really thought she would stay with her dad. The police get a search warrant for Rebecca's father's house and find enough stolen goods to arrest her. Now the whole crew, except Sam, waits for trial, and Rebecca is considered the leader of the Bling Ring. When they bring her in for questioning, Rebecca just wants to know what Lindsay Lohan has to say about all of this. In the end, everyone is released on bail, and Kate from Vanity Fair comes to visit Nikki. Kate asks a lot of questions about Nikki, and Nikki takes the opportunity to try to paint a positive picture of her side of the story. Next, Kate asks Mark about what all this has done for his reputation, and he shows that he has quite a large following, as America has a strange fascination with Bonnie and Clyde aspects. I can't resist it, I admit I do it too. I try to avoid drama in my life, but I enjoy exploring other people's drama. Sorry, why do you think TV trials are so popular, even for people who aren't fans of law or court cases? Yes, exactly, I'm talking about the Johnny and Amber trial as a recent example, and I watched it. After preparations, Nikki and her family head to court for the trial, and she speaks to the media while they wait for the others. Chloe doesn't answer any of them, and Mark gets direct questions. He doesn't answer either. When everyone sits in court, Rebecca comes in and sits next to Mark without saying a word, and then the trial begins, and within seconds, we find out that everyone has been found guilty. Rebecca and Mark are guilty of 4 counts of burglary, while the others have just 1 each, but everyone is sentenced to 1 year for each charge. It's incredible to think how quickly everything spiraled out of control. It all started with Rebecca checking cars outside her party, then immediately moving on to Paris Hilton. What's even funnier is that Nikki's next scene is in an interview after spending 30 days in a cell with Lindsay Lohan. It turns out that the interview asked about her experience inside, and Nikki actually found a way to turn things around to her side, then told the audience to follow her story at NikkiMoreForever.com. Then the credits roll. You know I have to do it. I immediately go to check if that website is real. It's definitely something. Maybe it was something when the movie came out, because now it just talks about how they did at the Cannes Festival. Still, it's a cool little connection. I'm more amazed by the fact that this is actually based on a true story. Teenagers really did this and got away with it for such a long period. Astonishing. Try the movie, not the house robberies. Seth Rogen meets Jay Baruchel at the airport. Jay wants to grab a hamburger but finds out that Seth is on a cleanse because he's learned he needs to use the bathroom 6 times a day. They argue about what gluten really is, but in the end, they still get the hamburger. They head to Seth's house, where Jay is pretty shocked by the place, but even more excited about the display of snacks and smoked products that Seth has prepared for them. They spend the rest of the evening relaxing, getting high, and hanging out. Seth invites Jay to a party at James Franco's, where all the A-list celebrities are supposed to be, and Jay reluctantly agrees, even though he's hesitant about meeting new people. They take a taxi and arrive at Franco's mansion. Franco invites them inside, where they mingle with people, including Rihanna, Michael Essere, and Jonah Hill. Jay steps outside for a cigarette and meets Craig Robinson and Emma Watson. The 3 of them chat while inside. James and Seth brainstorm ideas for a Pineapple Express sequel. The celebrities spend the rest of the evening singing, chatting, and socializing. Jay runs out of cigarettes and asks Seth to join him. On the way, Jay is upset because Seth ditched him at the party for other friends, but Seth tells him he's just too antisocial. They continue to argue about who is nicer when an explosion shatters the store windows. Bright blue lights start appearing around several people, lifting them into the air. Outside, bright blue lights fill the night sky. After the lights disappear, Seth and Jay step outside, where the city is in chaos, with driverless cars crashing into each other. They run back to Franco's house in shock, but find out that no one at the party heard anything. Jay tries to tell them what happened, but no one believes him because nothing happened at the party. Seth denies having seen anything, not wanting to be mocked. At that moment, an earthquake shakes the house, and the celebrities rush outside, where they see the whole city in flames. Everyone panics when Michael, hi, demands to know who took his phone. Behind him, the ground starts opening up, and a streetlight falls and impales him through the stomach. Michael is swallowed by the earth, and a massive hole starts to consume the celebrities. Rihanna is next, and the rest of the stars begin to flee in search of safety. Kevin Hart falls after throwing a man into the fire. Jay hangs on for dear life and manages to climb out of the massive hole. He runs back to the house, where Jonah, Craig, and James are panicking over what just happened. They check the news and hear reports about martial law and looting before the signal is cut off. Jay wants to go back to Seth's house, not wanting to die at Franco's, but Seth insists that it's better to stay with the group since they think celebrities will always get help first. They hear a helicopter, thinking they're saved, but the helicopter crashes outside. For protection, they decide to lock themselves inside the house and take inventory of the food they have with them, which isn't much. During the night, the guys try to sleep, hearing screams and gunfire outside that sound like war. Seth joins Jay, saying he's scared, and Jay thinks the apocalypse might have started, but Seth doesn't take it seriously. Craig and the others join them, and they rest for the night. The next morning, the guys wake up and see Danny eating all their food. He has no idea what's going on and thinks the guys are just crazy. As they try to explain, someone starts banging on the door, begging to be let in. The man breaks through the door, pleading for them to let him in, but Franco thinks they shouldn't let him in because he might be a serial killer. Jay wants to help the man, so they vote on whether to let him in. Suddenly, the man's head is chopped off, and the guys kick it around the house in panic, while Craig covers his head with a blanket. They think whatever killed the man might still be there, so they run upstairs, where they only see smoke and fire. Later, they wonder if maybe a tsunami hit, but Jay tells them it's the apocalypse. He pulls out a Bible and starts reading verses about Judgment Day and the fire all around them. James thinks it's all nonsense, saying that not everyone can be bad enough to be left behind. The next few days, they try to survive, eating, relaxing, getting high, and filming a Pineapple Express sequel. Again, they hear a loud bang at the door, and someone breaks through. The guys panic until they see that it's Emma Watson with an axe. She survived by hiding in the sewers and explains how she heard screams and groaning, thinking it was a zombie apocalypse. Franco lets her stay in his room before Jay tries to tell them not to make bad impressions. Emma hears them talking about using her position and leaves the room with the axe in her hand. They try to explain, but Emma demands all their food before leaving the house. Since they no longer have any drinks, Franco tells them there's water in his basement, but someone has to go outside. The guys draw matches, and Craig is the one who has to go. They tie a rope around Craig, and he insists that they pull him back if he shouts. Craig goes out and sees smoke covering everything, and the trees are in flames. Something starts growling, and Craig begins to run, pulling the rope from the guy's hands. He tries to enter the basement, but it's locked. He runs back to the house and barely manages to get back, while something pulls the rope still tied to him. They manage to break the rope in time and save his life. Franco explains that the water bottles are literally under their feet, so the guys decide to dig through the floor to get to them. Later, Craig talks to Jay about the apocalypse. Jay tells him they still have a chance to reach heaven if they follow the Bible. Seth is left alone to dig through the floor, so Jay decides to help him. As they talk, the floor suddenly opens and they fall into the basement. The basement is dark, so they grab a flashlight and find the water bottles. The guys go outside with the bottles and drink a glass at dinner. Danny, acting like a complete idiot, starts spilling water before the guys restrain him and take it away. Franco is tired of Danny in the house, who eats their food and wastes water, so he demands that Danny leave. The guys vote on it and inform Danny. Danny acts like a victim, making all the guys feel guilty for kicking him out. Danny asks for a weapon to protect himself, and James gives him a gun, but Danny turns it toward the guys. Fortunately, it's just a plastic gun. Danny then starts revealing secrets, exposing that Jay doesn't always tell Seth when he comes to LA. Danny then leaves, and Jonah confronts Jay about it, getting punched in the face. Jonah goes to bed and prays to God to kill Jay. The guys are sleeping that night when a demon appears in Jonah's room, having a huge penis and using it to attack Jonah. The guys are once again out of food and water, so they draw straws to decide who goes to the neighbor's house for water. Jonah looks a little strange, but swears he's fine, and scratches are visible on his arm. Seth is the one who ends up going, but he's scared, so Jay decides to go instead, much to Jonah's relief. Jay and Craig go outside armed with a bat and a frying pan. They get to the neighbor's house and enter, planning to just grab water and return. Franco and Seth hear something fall inside the house and run to see Jonah on the floor, pale, looking like he's possessed. They think it's low blood sugar and give him Milky Way chocolate. Suddenly, he starts speaking in a deep voice, telling his friends that it's the day of judgment and the apocalypse is coming. Jay and Craig find shelves full of food and pack a bag. Jay thinks they should leave the guys behind and stay there because they have all the food, but Craig thinks that would be a bad idea. Suddenly, a huge demon breaks through the wall, starts attacking them, and chases them through the house. Jay tries to escape but is caught by the demon and attacked, but Craig saves him in time by pushing them both through a window. Back at the house, Jonah starts vomiting on the guys, covering them in brown liquid, before disappearing. He attacks Franco with super strength, throwing him across the room, then attacks Seth and tries to harm him, but the guys fight him off. The two escape to another room where they hide in a closet as Jonah enters looking for them. Jonah almost finds them, but they push him back and run downstairs, where Jay and Craig come running in. Jonah attacks them, but Jay knocks him out with a bat before they all tie Jonah to the bed. After seeing everything, they agree it's the apocalypse and they need to find a way to survive. They thought they were good people and that God had made a mistake, but Craig tells them to be realistic and admits that as a child, he dug out someone's eyeballs, so maybe that's why he's there. Franco admits he had sex with Lindsay Lohan while she was drugged. They realize they've all done bad things and need to pay for their sins. Upstairs, they hear Jonah yelling and growling, so they decide to help him. The friends plan an exorcism. The demon begins to laugh, revealing that Jonah is no longer there. Jay starts repeating, "The power of Christ compels you," as the demon begins to scream and thrash in pain. Seth interrupts Jay, reminding him of the argument earlier, as the demon starts cursing them. The two start fighting, which knocks over a candle. During the fight, they end up in another room and realize Franco had been hiding food the whole time. They don't have time to be mad because they realize Jonah is on fire. He frees himself from the bed and starts chasing the guys through the house, setting the whole place on fire. To escape, the guys clear the obstruction at the door and get out just in time as the entire house collapses and kills Jonah. They realize they're now outside and plan to take Franco's Prius when a huge winged demon lands in front of them. Craig decides to sacrifice himself so the guys can escape. He attracts the demon's attention and attacks it, but a light from the sky saves him and lifts him into the air. The guys manage to escape in the car and realize they have a chance to go to heaven since Craig made it. They head toward the sky together, deciding to be kind to each other and start complimenting one another before being hit by a truck. Some people in Mad Max style pull them from the car, and a man with a chainsaw attacks them. A voice commands them to stop, and Danny emerges, revealing he has become some sort of cannibal king, with Channing Tatum as his butt slave. Danny decides he will eat the guys, but while he's distracted, Franco chooses to sacrifice himself so they can escape. Franco creates a distraction and starts fighting the cannibals while the light pulls him up. He's lifted but flips Danny the bird, causing him to fall back to Earth. Danny and the cannibals then eat him alive. Jay and Seth escape to safety. They hear massive footsteps in the distance and look up to see Satan standing far above LA, heading toward them. With no options left, the friends quickly start confessing their sins and decide to die together. Satan is about to eat them when a light from the sky comes, but only Jay is surrounded by the light, and Seth is angry. He tries to switch places with Jay so they can go to heaven and begins to be pulled up with him, but Satan rises and tries to attack them. The light begins to fade because Seth wasn't allowed, and since both of them will die, Seth decides Jay must live and lets go. He's ready to be eaten, but the light from the sky saves him by hurting the devil. The friends then celebrate because they've been lifted to heaven. The two arrive in heaven, celebrating as they run toward the golden gates where Craig, now an angel, greets them. Jay and Seth also become angels in heaven, and they all celebrate, even smoking marijuana. They realize they can wish for anything, so Jay wishes for the Backstreet Boys to come and perform. When Eve took the forbidden fruit, she, her husband, Adam, and their sons, Cain, Abel, and Seth, were cast out of Eden. Eventually, Cain killed Abel and escaped to the east, where he was protected by fallen angels known as the Watchers. The Watchers helped Cain's descendants in building the industrial civilization. Their cities spread wickedness throughout the world, and only Seth's descendants can protect what's left of creation. Centuries later, Lamech wraps snakeskin around his arm, giving the responsibility of caring for his creations to his son, Noah, who's the last of Seth's bloodline. Before completing the ritual, however, voices alert them to an approaching army. While Noah hides, Lamech approaches the army. Their leader wants to mine the land's Zohar, but Lamech insists that this is the Creator's land. The leader slaps Lamech in response, noting how the Creator has done nothing while his city starves. Thus, his army will take what they want to survive. He rips off the snakeskin from Lamech's arm and slashes his head, killing him instantly while Noah runs. Decades later, Noah gathers resources with his sons, Ham and Shem. Despite the sky being clear, a drop falls from the sky and grows into a flower instantly. Taking this as a sign, Noah gathers his sons to leave, but they stop upon seeing a creature scurrying away. Noah approaches the injured animal, finding a broken spear in its stomach. Upon the animal's death, the poachers who attacked the animal surround him, so Noah removes the spear from its body and uses it to stab one of them. He then steals the poacher's spear and kills the rest. Upon arriving home, Noah kisses his wife, Naamah, and his youngest son, Japheth. Later, he tells Naamah about the flower blooming from nothing, but Naamah advises him to rest, hoping that the Creator will soon make things right. Later, Noah wakes up in a wasteland in front of a lush mountain. He then sees the flower blooming from nothing again, but the land suddenly fills with water, drowning thousands around him. Noah screams and wakes up back in his bed. He gets up and Naamah asks if the Creator spoke to him. Noah confirms, believing that he will destroy the world. Recognizing the mountain in his dream as his grandfather's home, Noah and his family traverses the land. They reach an abandoned Zohar mine where they find dead scavengers. However, they hear a girl's voice, so Noah checks for survivors. Shem finds the girl, Isla, and Naamah tends to her wound. Moments later, they see men approaching, so they escape into the nearby wasteland. When a few men get too close, Noah goes to fight them, but the rocks start moving, knocking Noah out. When Noah awakens, he and his family are placed in a chasm. The giants approach them, so Noah demands to see his grandfather. Recognizing him as Seth's descendant, one giant named Samyaza berates his comrade, Og, for not killing him since men betrayed the Creator. Noah argues that the Creator sent them, but Samyaza doesn't believe him. The giants leave, and Noah tells his sons that the giants are the Watchers. After putting Isla to sleep at night, Naamah laments that the girl's wound may prevent her from having children. Suddenly, Noah hears heavy footsteps and finds Og. Og guides the family, recounting how the Watchers were made of light, but they chose to help mankind. Thus, the Creator punished them, turning them into rock and mud. Still, the Watchers shared their knowledge, allowing humans to become mighty. However, this led them to violence. Noah's grandfather, Methuselah, was the only one who protected the Watchers. Using a mighty sword, he scorched the earth to destroy the army that hunted down the Watchers. Now, the other Watchers can't accept that the Creator spoke to a man like Noah. Finally, the family reaches the lush mountain amidst the wasteland. While the rest stay in camp, Noah and Shem climb the mountain and reach the cave where Methuselah awaits them. Methuselah casually takes Shem and tells him to rest. With a touch of his forehead, Shem instantly falls asleep, allowing Methuselah and Noah to speak privately. While pouring tea for Noah, Methuselah shares that his father, Enoch, long predicted that the Creator would annihilate the world if men continued their ways. This confirms Noah's dream as a prophecy. But Methuselah asks him if he believes that the destruction can be averted. Noah tells him that the world will die by water, but he also saw new life, convincing him that there's more to the message. Methuselah agrees, and Noah realizes that his grandfather added medicine to his tea. Suddenly, Noah finds himself alone in the cave, and the place fills again with water. A silhouette of a large structure appears before Noah, and a herd of animals starts swimming towards it. When Noah awakens, Methuselah asks what he saw, and Noah concludes that the water is meant to cleanse them so the Creator can start again. With this, Noah determines that they can survive the flood, so Methuselah hands him a seed from the Garden of Eden. Upon returning to his family, Noah shares the news that men will be punished, but they were chosen to save the innocent, the animals. Ham asks why the animals are innocent, so Isla notes that animals still live as they did in the garden. Noah then heads out to plant the seed from Eden, understanding that they must build an ark to survive the flood. The following morning, Noah finds Og getting dragged by his fellow Watchers, who deem him a traitor. Noah begs the Watchers to help, but Samyaza argues that they lost everything after helping men. Still, Noah encourages them that they can still save what's left and serve him again. Before Samyaza can hit Noah, water gushes out from where Noah planted the seed. The water spills, and plants start to sprout, bringing new life to the wasteland. This convinces the Watchers to help Noah build his ark. For years, the water travels across the land, providing for the animals. Upon drinking the water, the animals travel to where Noah's family and the Watchers are building the Great Ark. In the forest, the adult Shem chases after the grown-up Isla. Once he catches her, they kiss, and Shem trails his kisses down her stomach and on her wound. However, Isla doesn't like this since the wound still hurts. Hundreds of birds fly to their ark, so Isla and Shem head back. At the build site, a grown Japheth tells his father about the birds, which Noah takes as a sign that the storm will soon begin. The birds then fly inside the structure to settle down. To keep them at peace, Nama burns some herbs, whose smoke puts the rowdy birds to sleep. Noah points out to Japheth that each kind of bird is composed of a male and a female. After the storm, they will create more hatchlings to repopulate the world. Ham hears this, so he later approaches his father, noting that everyone has a partner, beside him and Japheth. Noah assures him that the Creator will send everything they'll need. One day, Ham hears women in the woods, but a man suddenly appears, ready to strike him. Another man knocks him down and introduces himself as a king named Tubal-Cain. Ham argues that there's no king in the Creator's garden, making Tubal-Cain laugh. Noticing Ham staring at his war hammer, Tubal-Cain offers it to him. Ham takes Tubal-Cain and his people to the ark, but Tubal-Cain stops him from going. To his father, calling Ham his best soldier. Noah insists that his son isn't Tubal-Cain's. So, he makes Ham return the weapon and go to his family. Tubal-Cain notes that he saw the birds flying there, so he wanted to see the miracle. He insists that everything, including this land and their ark, belongs to him. However, Noah argues that the ark is built to protect the innocent when the Creator wipes out the wicked. Tubal-Cain insists that the Creator has long abandoned them, adding that his army will take what they want to survive. Recognizing his words, Noah realizes that this is the man who killed his father. Noah announces that he's the son of Seth, and the Watchers rise to protect him, scaring Tubal-Cain's people. Undeterred, Tubal-Cain tells Noah that if the Creator does wipe them out, he will return with legions to take Noah's ark to survive. In their forest, Tubal-Cain orders his men to create more weapons and warriors to fight the Watchers. However, he hears his people screaming as large beasts enter the forest to join the ark. Days later, Isla approaches Noah, tearfully pointing out that Shem needs someone who can give him children, which she can't. She questions why the Creator allowed a barren girl in the ark. So Noah assures her that she's a precious gift to his family. Isla cries in his arms, but still asks him to find a new wife for Shem. That evening, Noah visits Tubal-Cain's village, finding men trading women and children for meat. The soldiers then toss a goat in exchange for the women, which the villagers rip apart while it's alive. Afterward, Noah sees a vision of fire raining down on the village. In the morning, Noah returns to the ark, so Ham asks if he found them wives, but Noah says that there will be none. Ham argues that he can't be a man without one, but Noah just orders him to help his brothers. Angered, Ham yells at his father, so Noah pushes him and tells him to be a man by doing what needs to be done. Humiliated, Ham runs away, and Isla chases after him. Later, Noah shares to Nama that the wickedness is in all of them. Nama assures him that there's goodness in them, too, like in their sons. However, Noah points out that they're no different because their sons are flawed, while he and his wife would sin to protect them. He decides that they'll complete the ark and die with everyone else. Unwilling to accept this, Nama asks Methuselah for help, fearing for her son's future. Methuselah agrees that men corrupted the world, so the Creator must wipe them out completely. Nama argues that her sons are good, but Methuselah stresses that it's Noah's choice. Meanwhile, Ham sneaks into the village, but falls into a mass grave where he finds a scared young woman named Nile. Ham promises not to hurt her and gives her food, realizing that she's been hiding in the pit to avoid the men. He offers to help her escape, but she's scared, so he stays with her instead. Still searching for Ham, Isla finds Methuselah, who asks her to find berries for him. Methuselah asks if Isla loves Noah's family, so she expresses gratitude to them for saving her. He then notes that he hasn't given her a blessing, so he touches her stomach and Isla backs away in pain. When the pain goes away, she hears Shem calling for her, so Methuselah tells her to go. The two reunite, and Isla quickly kisses Shem and takes his clothes off. Soon, the rain begins, catching everyone's attention. Seeing this, Ham pulls Nile out of the pit while Tubal-Cain prepares his men for battle. Shem and Isla return to the ark, but Ham is still missing, so Noah goes to search for him. While the army rushes to Noah's ark, Ham and Nile run into the woods as well. Nile gets caught in a bear trap, so Ham embraces her protectively while the army closes in. Noah arrives but only pulls him away, allowing Nile to be trampled to death. As the soldiers battle the Watchers, Ham enters the ark while Noah stands guard. Tubal-Cain shoots the Watchers with Sohar, eventually hitting Samyazo in the chest and stabs the wound with a spear. When Tubal-Cain pushes the spear further in, Samyaza explodes into light, which shoots to the heavens. The Watchers realize that Samyaza has returned home, so they fight with fury, knowing their deaths will lead them to heaven. A few men reach the ark, but Noah fights and throws them off, not knowing that Tubal-Cain is climbing the ark from the side. Soon, Noah witnesses Og ripping his own chest, causing an explosion that kills the men surrounding him. With no more Watchers on the land, water erupts from the earth, starting the flood. Because of this, Tubal-Cain starts breaking his way into the ark, which Ham hears from the inside. In the forest, Methuselah finally finds a berry in the soil. He eats the berry and welcomes the wave of water that washes the forest away. The water destroys the army and reaches the ark, so Noah and Tubal-Cain hold on. The ark floods with water, but it soon floats, allowing Tubal-Cain to enter through the hole he made while Noah reunites with his family. While thousands of people drown, Isla and Shem beg Noah to save a few, but he insists that there's no room for them. The family soon gathers for dinner, ignoring the screams outside their walls. Noah understands that his family judges him, so he reminds them of how the Creator made everything balanced until Adam and Eve were given a choice. When they ate the forbidden fruit, their innocence was erased, and men broke the world. After the Great Flood, paradise can begin again, but with no men to destroy it. Unknown to them, Ham gives food to Tubal-Cain, assuring him that his father doesn't know he's there. Tubal-Cain asks why Ham is helping him, so Ham shares that Noah let Nile die. To Ham's surprise, Tubal-Cain takes a sleeping animal and eats it. Tubal-Cain argues that the Creator made them in his image to subdue the animals, not serve them. He offers the boy a piece of meat, telling him it's their world to seize. One night, Isla wakes up feeling sick. Using herbs, Nama discovers that Methuselah healed Isla, and she's now pregnant. Isla sobs with joy, but Nama realizes that this won't please Noah. Isla announces her pregnancy, and Nama confesses that she asked Methuselah for help to give their sons a future, but Noah thinks that she undermined the Creator. Conflicted, Noah heads out and begs the Creator not to make him kill his grandchild. While Isla cries in Nama's arms, they notice when the rain stops. The family steps out, and Isla insists that the rain stopped because the Creator is blessing their child, but Noah disagrees. He decides that if the child is a boy, he will become the last man. If it's a girl, she must die to prevent her from mothering children. Shem tries to defend his child, but Noah has made his choice. Months later, Japheth welcomes a crow that he released, but its claws are clean, so it didn't find land. He and Nama meet with Isla and Shem, who are preparing their raft. They tell them that there's no land yet, but Isla, who's heavily pregnant, insists on leaving to save their child. Nama confronts her husband, begging him to punish her instead for asking for Methuselah's help. Noah argues that all men are being punished, calling it justice. However, Nama points out that Noah will lose his family if he harms the child. Unknown to them, Tubal-Cain sees Isla's condition, so he tells Ham to bring Noah to him. Ham hesitates, so Tubal-Cain points out that Noah killed the woman he chose and is now about to kill his brother's child. He asks if Ham is a man, to which the boy nods. Just before the couple leaves, Noah burns their raft, preventing them from doing so. Suddenly, Isla's water breaks, so Nama takes her away to help her give birth. Noah sees Shem staring angrily at him while holding a weapon, but Ham suddenly calls for him, claiming that the beasts are awake and are attacking each other. Noah goes to check, and Tubal-Cain ambushes him. The two battle while Ham watches, still conflicted by his rage. Noah eventually gets the upper hand and strangles Tubal-Cain. Finally, Isla gives birth, and Shem joins her. However, Isla continues to scream in pain, alerting them that she's giving birth to twins. When the second baby comes out, Nama announces that both babies are girls. Hearing this, Shem promises Isla that Noah will not harm their daughters and leaves. Meanwhile, Tubal-Cain bites Noah's hand, freeing himself before knocking Noah down. However, the ark crashes into a mountaintop, throwing everyone back. After the impact, Noah finds Tubal-Cain holding onto the broken floor, so he goes to finish him. Suddenly, Shem attacks his father, determined to keep him away from his children. Tubal-Cain uses this opportunity to climb back up and knock Shem down, wanting to kill Noah on his own. Tubal-Cain corners Noah, declaring that he will build the new world in his image, but Ham suddenly stabs him. The old king grabs Ham and reveals Lamech's snakeskin. He hands it to the boy and tells him that he's now a man for taking life. Tubal-Cain then falls dead. Noah rises, convinced that the events were in the Creator's plans. However, Ham reminds him that Nile was innocent, making him reconsider for a moment. Still, he climbs the ark to see his grandchildren. Nama tries to stop him, revealing that Isla gave birth to twins and reminding him that the Creator sends them what they need. Despite this, Noah climbs over the ark, cornering Isla, who begs him to let her calm her crying daughters and allow them peace. He lets her sing to the babies just as Nama climbs up. The babies fall asleep, so Noah tells Isla to leave, but she insists on holding them until their last breaths. Noah lifts his blade to one child but instead kisses their foreheads. While Isla weeps, Noah drops his knife, deciding not to kill his grandchildren. Finally, Shem finds them and holds his family, while a dove with an olive branch flies over them, announcing that land has been found. Weeks later, Noah has exiled himself to a cave, making wine from berries to forget his sorrows. Elsewhere, Ham watches Shem build a home for his new family, while Isla tends to their children. He then visits his father, finding him unconscious on the shore. Shem and Japheth arrive and help Noah up, but when he sees Ham merely tosses him a bag and leaves. Soon, Isla finds Ham ready to leave, insisting that he doesn't belong with them. He shares that he's glad that new life begins with Isla, and maybe this time, man will be kind. After Ham leaves, Noah meets with Isla. She asks why he spared her daughters. So, he admits that he only felt love when he saw them. Noah then laments over failing the Creator and his family, but Isla believes that the Creator let him decide if they were worth saving. Because Noah chose love, the Creator gave them a second chance to do better. Eventually, Noah returns to his family. From the bag that Ham left, Noah takes the snakeskin to honor his sons and grandchildren, giving them the responsibility to replenish the earth. With this, light shines from the heavens, signaling the Creator's blessing for this new world. Lena is a stewardess and her plane lands in Chile. The pilot and flight attendants are driving in a van, but it stopped because the street is blocked. There are protests against inflation and food shortages going on. She sees her long-distance boyfriend Daniel and gets out of the van. He notices her too and walks up to her, and they kiss. She wanted to surprise him, so she didn't tell him she was coming. They go to his apartment. She looks around to see photographs and posters and says he's been busy. He says he didn't come to Chile for nothing. Lena says he has passed the home inspection, but he still needs to be searched, and they make out. Later, he brings Lena to a meeting of his movement. He is brought on stage and gives a speech. He came to Chile 4 months ago, and it has become his country. Daniel believes that they all need more solidarity and that the suffering of many shouldn't be the foundation of wealth for a few. The crowd cheers. Next morning, he makes breakfast, but seems to have forgotten to put on pants. She grabs his camera and starts taking photos. He chases after her and says, "I love you," and they start kissing. Later, he's developing the photos. She compliments him on having a great eye and says they have gotten so much better. When they get to bed, Daniel says he can't believe she has to leave in 2 days and asks her to stay with him. Lena says she can't stay, but maybe he can come back to Germany. Following morning, Daniel gets a phone call. He is informed that there's been a military coup. General Pinochet has taken over president. Allende supporters are being arrested, and that Daniel's posters at the university were confiscated. They are coming to his apartment, so they have to leave immediately. When they get on the street, people are being lined up by the military. He starts discreetly taking photos of the chaos. A shot is heard, and people start running in panic, but the military chase them down and whack them. He's still taking photos and starts walking closer for better shots, but gets noticed. They take his camera and start beating him as well. Lena tries to stop them, but her attempts are futile. They are brought to a stadium. Daniel says they're foreign citizens, but is ignored, receives a blow to the stomach, and is ordered to get in line and stay quiet. A general informs people that law and order is being established in Chile, and everyone who's there by mistake will soon be released. Soldiers have orders to shoot everyone who moves or talks. They are brought to the middle of the stadium where a chopper lands. A general and a man with a bag over his head walk out. He points out Allende supporters from the crowd. The first one gets taken away, but the second voices his support for their opposition and is shot. He gets past Daniel but takes a second look and tells them he made the posters. He is taken to a bus and driven away. Lena is released from the stadium. There are dozens of people looking for their loved ones. She gets back to Daniel's apartment and finds it trashed. Lena goes to the Allende supporters looking for answers. They inform her he's been taken to the Colony of Dignity. She says they need to get him out, but they state that nothing can be done about Daniel, and that they're going into hiding. Daniel wakes up tied to a metal bed. A man walks in and starts interrogating him. Daniel says that he's German and is innocent. The man starts electrocuting him. He's beaten and tortured by the army until Pius turns up pretending to be a caring savior. Pius says that he's here now and there's no danger anymore, so Daniel can relax. Lena goes to Amnesty International, which is a global movement to end human rights abuses. The man tells her that the Colony of Dignity is a long-established, respectable, and government-approved enterprise. He then signals her to keep quiet, and they act like she leaves. He then starts playing loud music and tells her he's being bugged, and they can talk now. He informs her that her boyfriend is in a cult run by Pius, who ran from Germany after World War II, and has set up a world with his own rules in the middle of nowhere. She asks if she could get in, but is warned that she may never get back out. Lena leaves a letter for the pilot saying that she won't be coming and asks him to cover for her and that she will be on the next week's flight. She dresses like a nun, takes the bus, and travels south. When she gets off, the driver instructs her to walk towards the mountain. She walks through the fields and finds a fenced-off area in the woods with guard towers. Lena reaches the gate, and a hatch opens with a woman saying, "God bless." She responds with the same and is let in by a senior cult member, Gisela. She escorts her to a building and asks if she wants to join them. Lena says yes, and that she wants to follow the Lord. Gisela takes her passport and other belongings, throws them in a box, and takes them to another room, saying she won't be needing any of them. As Lena is looking around, a boy leaves a different room. She sees him crying and asks if he's alright, but Gisela comes back and tells her to leave him alone because it's none of her business. A woman takes the kid while telling him to pull himself together and stop crying. Gisela tells Lena it's her turn to go in the room to do a general confession. She enters and sees the cult leader Pius. He asks her name and tells her that once she joins, she must remain, and Lena agrees. He tells her she's attractive and must have a boyfriend. Lena denies this and says she wants to follow the Lord, but he can see in her eyes and soul that she isn't being truthful. Pius then orders her to take off her apron and open her blouse. When she does, he declares, "Gray rags on the outside and instruments of a prostitute beneath." He then stands up and smells her while saying that he can smell the beast of hell. He goes on aggressively questioning whether she renounces Satan, sins of the flesh, and all lies and deceit. Finally, he asks why she's here, to which Lena responds that she's here for Pius because she needs him. He thinks she has finally spoken truthfully and hugs her. Gisela explains that men, women, and children live separately because it's better for everyone that way. She shows her the women's dorm and instructs Lena to use a bandage to tie down her breasts and take off her shoes because she looks like a slut. In the evening, the other women return from work. Lena greets them, but they don't respond and avoid eye contact. When Gisela has left, a woman next to her, Doro, asks if she's from the outside, and Lena says yes. Doro starts giggling and asks if she can tell her secret and says she may be getting married soon. Lena is confused because men and women live separately. Gisela comes back, interrupting their conversation, and starts giving out mandatory pills without explaining what they are. The next day, Daniel is being evaluated by a doctor who is horrified about his condition. She thinks the electric shocks may have damaged his cortex. Pius states that everyone is good for something. Meanwhile, Lena is working with other women harvesting potatoes. She gets dizzy and falls on the ground. Gisela starts whipping her while calling her a lazy slut. Lena says she just needs some water. Gisela brings a bucket full of water, but Lena is forbidden to drink it and must carry it around. Lena cries herself to sleep that night. A week has passed. There's been a schedule change, and all women go to the women's hall. Lena gets a chance to ask Doro about her fiancé. She explains they only met once, 3 years ago, at the mixed parade, and have been in love since. Pius is saying a bunch of religious stuff, and the men cheer to his every phrase. He's trying to resurrect a dead guy. The women are in the next room channeling their energy, or whatever. Some guy stands up to the mic and says that they all heard God's voice through Pius, but concludes that their wish couldn't come through because there's too much sin in their community. They start wailing. Another month passes. Daniel, who acts mentally challenged and calls himself Hans, is brought to a blacksmith. The doctor tells him that Hans is as dumb as they come and that he just needs to keep an eye on him. The blacksmith gives him a meaningless task and Daniel plays the part. When the blacksmith is gone, Daniel explores the surroundings and manages to get into a dark room and finds a camera. He gets caught but plays dumb and says he needs to pee. While working, Gisela pulls Lena aside and starts talking about the marriage. Thinking it's common knowledge, Lena mentions that the groom's name is Dieter. That night, Gisela comes in and takes Doro, who is crying and struggling. She forgets to lock the door, so Lena follows to see what they're doing. She looks through the window and sees all the men in the room, with a kid singing in front and Doro looking distressed. Pius tells the kid to stop and starts smelling the air. He states that it still stinks and that even the divine singing couldn't drive the devil out. The men agree to everything Pius says and exaggerate all of his emotions. Pius asks Dieter what he thinks about this ugly, stinking cow. He looks hesitant, but says it stinks. He's then asked to come up and relieve her from the stench. Pius states that it's the demons he smells and they need to be driven out. Doro begs for mercy, but Pius says what we do with love. Dieter starts hitting her, and all the men cheer. Lena finds Daniel in the crowd. Pius then asks the other men to help out Dieter, but Lena gets noticed and runs back to the dorm. Not knowing which of the women it was, Pius starts beating Gisela for not locking the door. The next day, Lena catches Ursula alone and inquires about Doro's condition. Ursula says she'll survive. Lena then asks how to be taken to men's gathering like Doro. The women are working the field and Gisela gets distracted, so Lena runs off and goes for a swim. Later, Lena is sent to the men's gathering for defiling the water with her stinking naked body but can't see Daniel. Pius explains how all women are full of lies and deceit and need to be cleansed. The men start the cleansing, but a loud horn interrupts them. Daniel has been trying to escape and has triggered an alarm. He tries to climb over the fence, but gets electrified and passes out. They find Daniel but don't punish him since they think his brain is fried from the torture. And he just wandered off. 3 months pass. Pius is in the boys' dormitory, and they sing to him. He makes his pick for the day, and 3 of them go shower. He enters shortly after. There's a mixed parade, and everyone puts on their best clothes and is instructed to smile and wave their flags. As cars are driving through, Daniel finally sees Lena for the first time after 130 days of them both being there. She asks him to meet at the potato shed at night. Pius sells the government weapons and offers torture services, so they turn a blind eye to this place. The general also wants to buy poison gas they produce, but wants to see if it works first. Pius finally finds a use for Daniel. Daniel volunteers for guard duty and goes to see Lena. He says he's sorry they brought her here, but Lena says she joined up to find him. Daniel explains that they don't hide anything from him because they think his brain is fried. Once in a while he allows them to meet to make children, but takes the kids away from their mothers at 3 months, so they never even know their parents. As they're talking, he steps on a hatch, and he climbs down to find a lit tunnel. Gisela comes back for Lena as her shift is over. Daniel stays down and explores. When he finds the room he was tortured in, he gets flashbacks and decides to smash the equipment. The next morning, Lena is asked to see Pius through the speakers. He rambles about how you can't trust women with brains because they lose their way easily, and instructs her to spy on Ursel because he can smell that she's up to something. He arranges for them to see each other more. Lena knows that Ursel hates being here, so they are honest with each other. Ursel says she was brought to the compound when she was 9 by her mother, Gisela. Later that day, Daniel is having a medical examination. He's drooling and repeats random words people say. As he leaves, he accidentally drops the cross. Ursel opens it up and finds a photo of him and Lena. He also thinks he has found the exit because it was the only tunnel blocked with steel bars. They have to leave tonight because the poison gas will be tested on him tomorrow. Daniel wants to expose this place, so he took a bunch of photos of the tunnels with the camera from the workshop. Lena says they wouldn't even be here if he didn't take pictures in the first place. They are interrupted by the sounds of Gisela's tractor, and Daniel goes back in the tunnels, but drops one of the photos, and Lena hides it under a bucket. Gisela drops Ursel off, but she forgot her knife, so Gisela goes to fetch it. They start talking and soon learn they both were told to spy on the other. Lena asks why Pius is doing all of this. She thinks it's because he loves power and the little boys. She tells Lena that she found the photo in the cross and knows they are planning to escape, and tells her she is pregnant. Gisela comes back and notices Lena is holding the same potato, so she tells her to move. She picks up the bucket and finds the photo. Pius is interrogating her, but Daniel shows up and says he's the one that found it and leads them to the blacksmith's darkroom. They find all the photos in the blacksmith's notebook, so Pius thinks he betrayed him and lets Lena go. Gisela is escorting her back, but Lena notices Daniel in the shadows and manages to hit Gisela with a branch. By this time, Pius realizes he's been duped, and everyone starts frantically looking for Lena and Daniel. They run back to Ursel, enter the tunnels, and Daniel cuts the lock. They manage to get outside, but Ursel steps on a tripwire, gets shot, and dies instantly. Lena and Daniel hitch a ride and manage to get to the German embassy, where they show them the photos. They are given passports, but are informed their flight is only in a week. Lena calls the pilot and manages to get 2 seats for today's flight. The lady isn't happy and makes a phone call. 2 diplomats get them into the airport through an underground entrance and put them in a room, saying that they will get them as soon as boarding starts. A bit later, they see Pius meeting with them and realize they're locked in, so they escape through the window. They run through the airport, get out on the runway, and drive a baggage cart to the plane. Pius pulls some strings and the tower cancels their flight permit. After some pondering, the pilot takes off, and they manage to get out of Chile. The photos smuggled out caused a major global scandal, but the Chilean government did nothing. The colony of Dignity was allowed to operate for 17 more years until Pinochet came out of power and Chile transitioned to democracy. So the movie opens in Minnesota in 1990, where we see a man named John who arrives at the police station to confess to his crimes. His 17-year-old daughter, Angela, has accused him of sexually abusing her. Detective Bruce investigates the case and asks John why he did it. But John says that he has no recollection of the abuse. But since according to him, Angela never lies, he definitely must have done it. As Bruce is confident that John is guilty, he decides to seek the help of a psychologist to help John remember. Bruce then goes to meet John's mother, who explains that she didn't know anything about the abuse. Since Angela is in shock, she has decided to stay in the church. Bruce then goes to inspect Angela's room, but he doesn't find anything fishy there. His partner, Detective George, reveals that Angela has a brother named Roy, who ran away from the house 2 years ago. George says that he doesn't believe Angela's story and that she may be lying. Angela never had a normal childhood, and she lost her mother at an early age. So, she may want to get away from her home by framing her father. But Bruce doesn't believe this, as he is confident that John is guilty. The next day, Professor Kenneth arrives at the police station to study John's case. He concludes that John isn't trying to play any games with them. The only reason John turned himself in is that he used to be a drunkard who spent the previous few years trying to quit. On one hand, he has done some awful things in the past. But on the other hand, he has turned to faith and has suppressed his memories, which he doesn't want to remember. So Kenneth and Bruce decide to use recovered memory therapy to help John retrieve his memories. After some struggle, John manages to remember that he once went to Angela's room last year at night. A man is seen tying Angela's hands and legs to the bed, while John is recording everything. It turns out that the man with John is Detective George. So Bruce confronts George and arrests him under suspicion of assaulting Angela. Bruce then decides to meet Angela and takes Kenneth with him, as he wants some evidence that he can use to prove George guilty. The two then go to the church, where they ask Angela to describe what happened to her. Angela reveals that she was abused by some people in masks who were trying to summon the devil by branding her with a reverse cross on her stomach. Angela also identifies George as one of the masked men. Bruce is now slowly getting obsessed with the case, as he feels that something big is going on in the town. The cops eventually managed to find Angela's estranged brother Roy, who is currently living in Pittsburgh. So Bruce and Kenneth go to meet Roy and ask him why he left the house. Roy says that whatever Angela told them is a lie and nothing ever happened. But Bruce and Kenneth realize that he is hiding something. So they decide to use regressive hypnosis on him as well to know what happened in his childhood. Roy recalls seeing some people in hoods entering his room when he was young. Roy is terrified of them, as they all looked scary and had ill intentions toward him. But Kenneth feels something is wrong, as Angela mentioned that the abuse started a year ago. But according to Roy's vision, it happened when they were children. Bruce doesn't find it weird and suspects that Angela's grandmother Rose too may be involved. So they search the entire house but don't find anything to prove she was involved. During the checkup, Angela refuses to show the mark on her stomach. So Bruce tries talking to her and comforts her. Bruce assures her that he will do whatever it takes to protect her and get the culprits behind bars soon. So Angela reluctantly shows him the mark and warns him that now they will kill him too, as he too has seen the mark. She also reveals that her grandmother is also part of the cult. One day, Angela goes to meet Bruce in his office and tells him that she is being followed. She also reveals that her mother too was followed before she met with an accident that led to her death. Bruce is horrified by this and feels that he should do whatever it takes to protect Angela. So he listens to her recordings over and over to find any clue to catch the members of the cult. Later that night, Bruce is attacked by some mysterious hooded figures who inject him with something. A young girl then gets on top of Bruce for some satanic ritual. But to his horror, she turns into Angela's grandmother. But it turns out that it was just a nightmare and nothing else. Bruce is losing his patience and getting too attached to the case. Meanwhile, Rose too begins experiencing nightmares and is going crazy. Because of this, she jumps from the window of her house and ends up injuring herself. The next day, Bruce goes to talk to Angela in the church's cemetery. Bruce assures her that he believes her, and after an emotional outburst, Angela kisses him. Bruce is shocked by this and leaves immediately. Roy then returns to the town to meet his grandmother. But he is devastated to see her condition and blames Bruce and the others for making her think that she abused him. The father tells Bruce and Kenneth that the devil is trying to confuse them and make them do things. When Bruce returns home, he gets a call, but when he receives it, no one answers. He recalls that Angela had told him they would call their targets in the middle of the night and then hang up. But it turns out that Angela is making the calls to Bruce and hanging up without saying anything. Bruce is getting paranoid and gets another nightmare, where he sees an old lady performing a satanic ritual again. His nightmare intensifies, and he just can't run away from it. Because of this, he feels threatened and thinks that everyone is following him in the streets. On top of that, he learns that George is released, which makes him even more frustrated. Even though there is no proof against George, Bruce is confident that George is guilty. But Kenneth thinks otherwise, as he says that the mark on Angela's stomach seems to be self-inflicted, which suggests that Angela may be making this all up. Later, Bruce goes to talk to John and asks him about Roy. John says that the reason he kicked Roy out of his house was that Roy is gay. Bruce realizes that Kenneth might be right and that Angela is making things up. Later, John sees a soup advertisement on the street, and he recognizes the woman in it as the one he sees in his nightmares. So he goes straight to meet Kenneth and tells him that all these nightmares they are having are induced by therapy, that the whole situation is just the result of mass hysteria. However, the professor rejects the idea and says that it's not possible. When Bruce returns home, he is attacked by two hooded figures, but Bruce manages to grab his gun and stop them. It turns out that they are George and their colleague, Farrell. George says that he was seeking revenge, as Bruce ruined his career by detaining him as a child molester. Bruce tells them that he won't report this, only if George tells him everything he knows. After learning everything from him, Bruce goes to meet Angela. He confronts Angela about her abuse, but she insists that she told him the truth. But Bruce realizes that Angela was fabricating everything from the very beginning and that she was never abused. She hated her family and wanted to escape from them for good. She feared that she would end up like her mother if she stays with them. On top of that, she had a sexual relationship with George for some time when she opened up to him. But George refused to elope with a minor and left her. So Angela accused her father so that she can escape the house. Angela accepts everything but tells him that no one is going to believe him, especially if she tells them that they kissed in the cemetery. So Bruce leaves the church as he knows that he doesn't have any evidence against Angela. After a couple of days, Angela appears on the TV and tells the viewers to believe her story that satanic cults do exist among them. Bruce tells the police chief the truth and that they fell for Angela's innocence. She destroyed her whole family just so that she can get away from them. Bruce then tells John everything and that he is innocent. He wants John to plead not guilty and reveal Angela's truth to everyone. But John refuses and decides to take the blame as he feels responsible for being a drunkard and ruining Angela's childhood. John hopes that if he takes the blame now, Angela will forgive him one day for being a bad father. Bruce has no choice but to accept his request as he too feels responsible for the situation. He put John in. The film ends with a statement that there were many cases like this at that time until the wave of panic subsided and the satanic abuse hysteria faded. Today, regression therapies have been discredited for generating false memories, just like what happened in this film. Once upon a time, somewhere in France, a handsome young prince lived in a beautiful and luxurious castle. However, the prince was selfish and unkind even though he had everything his heart desired. He also taxed the village to fill his castle with the most beautiful objects. One night, an old beggar woman arrived at the castle during a ball and offered the prince a rose in return for shelter from a storm. Disgusted by her appearance, the prince made fun of her instead and turned down the offer. Just then, the old woman slowly revealed her true form as a beautiful enchantress. The prince begged for forgiveness, but the enchantress had seen that there was no love in his heart. As a result, she transformed him into a hideous beast and his servants into household objects before erasing the castle, himself, and the servants from the memories of their loved ones and everyone else in the nearby village. The enchantress warned the prince that the curse will only be broken if he could learn to love another and have that person love him back before the last petal of the enchanted rose fell. Otherwise, he would be doomed to remain a beast forever, while his servants would become inanimate objects. 10 years later, in a small village near the castle, a young girl named Belle dreams of adventure to leave her hometown and wish to live in the big city. She is a book lover and the daughter of a widowed artist named Maurice. However, the other villagers are always watching her with strange looks due to her unconventional ways of thinking. On the other hand, an arrogant hunter and war veteran named Gaston intends to marry Belle, mainly because she is the most beautiful woman in the village. When he brings a bouquet of flowers to Belle, she refuses the gift without a second thought. But this only increases Gaston's interest in her. When she arrives home, Belle asks her father whether she is odd. Maurice replies that once in Paris, he knew a girl like Belle who was so ahead of her time. People mocked her until the day they all found themselves imitating her. Maurice finally reveals that the girl was Belle's mother, who was also fearless during her youth. At noon, Maurice prepares his wagon for a trip to the market. Belle asks her father to bring her a rose, which she always asks for every year. Shortly after that, Gaston comes to Belle's house and tries his luck again to get her attention. However, she constantly brushes off advances from him as he is not the type of man she wishes to marry. At night, a sudden rainstorm engulfs the woods. On his way to the market, Maurice discovers that his path is blocked by a tree branch that was struck by lightning. He then takes a detour and finds another path that leads somewhere. As he passes through, a pack of wolves starts chasing him. During the escape, his wagon becomes unhitched, and Maurice ends up falling to the ground. When a wolf approaches him, he accidentally slips on the snow and falls onto his horse's back. They continue their escape and eventually arrive at the beast's castle. Maurice decides to take shelter there and warms himself in front of the fireplace. He then goes to the dining room in search of the host, but instead finds a talking cup on the table. Realizing there is something wrong in the castle, Maurice quickly leaves with his horse. However, he notices blossoming roses in the garden and decides to pick one for his daughter. Following this, the beast suddenly appears in front of him and scares off Maurice's horse. When Maurice's horse returns without him, Belle realizes something is wrong and ventures out in search of him. She even grabs a wood to defend herself before entering the castle. After that, she hears a sound from upstairs and finally finds her father locked in the castle dungeon. Maurice quickly tells his daughter that the castle is alive and orders her to leave as soon as possible. Not long after that, the beast appears and reveals that he has arrested Maurice for stealing a rose from his garden. Belle says that she was the one who wanted the rose and then pleads with the beast to let her take her father's place. However, Maurice refuses as she has a lot to live for. Before leaving, Belle wishes final chance to say goodbye to her father, and the beast eventually opens the cell. She hugs Maurice, then surprises him by swapping places and shutting the gate on herself. The Beast then drags Maurice away and lets him go. A few hours later, the cell door suddenly opens, and Belle finally meets the castle servants who had turned into household objects.
A.
Candelabra/Footman Lumiere introduces himself and says that he will take Belle to her room. Seeing this, Belle is startled and throws a wooden stool at him. After that, a mantle clock/the head of the household Cogsworth joins them as well. Arriving at her new room, Belle meets a feather duster/maid Plumette who immediately cleans her dusty room. Lumiere and Plumette were a couple before the curse. Even now, they still love each other. Suddenly, the closet starts singing and introduces herself as Madame de Garderobe. In the meantime, Maurice arrives at the village and explains everything about the beast and his castle. Hearing this, everyone thinks he is crazy, except for Gaston, who takes this seriously and is willing to rescue
Belle.
They enter the woods at night, but Maurice is unable to show the correct path to the castle, because the path he took has magically changed. At one point, Gaston loses his temper and believes that Maurice is delusional. He also reveals that he wanted to rescue Belle as an opportunity to win her hand in marriage. When Maurice learns of his ulterior motive and rejects him, Gaston knocks him unconscious and abandons him to be eaten by the wolves in the middle of the woods. Back to the castle, the beast is furious because he does not know that Belle had been released from the cell. Lumiere explains that the girl might be the one who can break their curse, so he tries to convince the beast to kindly invite Belle to dinner. At that point, Belle, who is preparing her escape through the window, refuses the invitation as she does not want to have dinner with her kidnapper. Therefore, the beast becomes angry and says that he will not serve food to her anymore. He then goes back into his room and uses the magic mirror to see Belle. At the same time, the petals of the enchanted rose continue to fall, signaling his doom draws nearer. Meanwhile, a teapot/housekeeper Mrs. Potts and her son Chip, who is now a teacup, come into Belle's room. Seeing a rope made of cloth to escape, she asks Belle to have a cup of tea and tries to invite her back for dinner. She also apologizes for what the beast did earlier. Belle finally agrees to dine, and all the castle servants put on a spectacular show for her. After the dinner, Belle wanders into the Forbidden West Wing and eventually finds the enchanted rose. Before she can touch it, the beast suddenly appears and tells her to leave immediately. Frightened, Belle leaves the castle and runs into the woods, where she is ambushed off guard by the wolves from earlier. Fortunately, the beast manages to rescue her, but injures himself in the process. Realizing that the beast had risked his life for her, Belle takes the beast back to the castle and nurses his wounds. The castle servants are very worried about him, which makes Belle wonder why they care so much for someone so cruel. Mrs. Potts explains that when the master lost his mother, his cruel father took the sweet, innocent boy and twisted him up to be just like him. In the following days, Belle continues to care the beast and learns that he also loves books. He then takes the girl to the castle library, and Belle is very amazed to see many books there. The relationship between the two is getting closer as time goes by. One day, the beast shows Belle a gift from the enchantress, a book that transports readers wherever they want. Belle uses the book to visit her childhood home in Paris, where she discovers a plague doctor's mask and soon realizes that she and her father were forced to leave when her mother died from bubonic plague, the one thing her father could not tell her all those years. Meanwhile, Maurice is rescued by the town hermit Agath, who takes him back to her shelter. After he recovers, he returns to the village and tells the other villagers about Gaston's crime. Shortly after that, Gaston appears and are immediately confronted by the villagers. He tries to defend himself and asks Maurice for proof of what he just said. Since he is unable to provide solid evidence, Gaston convinces them all to send Maurice to an asylum. In the castle, the servants are preparing their master for the ball that night. At first, the beast seems anxious and insecure about his appearance, but in the end, his servants manage to build up his confidence. Belle is also getting ready in her room, assisted by Madame de Garderobe, who puts the finishing touches on her dress. After they meet, the couple walks down the hall together and shares a romantic dance. Following this, they go out onto the balcony, and Belle expresses her longing for her father. Because of that, the beast takes her into his room and gives her the magic mirror. Belle quickly uses it, only to discover her father's predicament. Knowing this, the beast finally releases her to save Maurice and gives her the magic mirror to remember him with. At that moment, the castle servants begin to lose hope, but they understand their master's decision, because he finally loves the girl. Arriving back to the village, Belle orders them to free her father. She then reveals the beast in the mirror, much to the shock of the villagers, proving her father's sanity. Realizing that Belle is in love with the beast, a jealous Gaston claims that she has been charmed by dark magic and has her thrown into the asylum carriage with her father. He then takes the magic mirror and rallies the villagers to follow him to the castle to eliminate the beast before he curses the whole village. After the villagers leave, Belle tells her father that she already knows what happened to her mother and shows him the rose rattle she took from her magical visit to their old, abandoned home. She then enlists her father's help to open the lock. Thankfully, it does not take long for Maurice to unlock it, letting Belle to rush back to the castle. Meanwhile, the castle servants realize that many intruders want to break into their castle. They quickly form a barricade to prevent them from breaking in, but Lumiere has a better idea of how to deal with them. After successfully breaking down the castle door, some of the villagers feel familiar with that place. At the right moment, the magical objects reveal themselves and start attacking the intruders. During the battle, Gaston abandons his companion LeFou, who is struck by a piano. Because of this, LeFou later sides with the castle servants to fend off the villagers, and the intruders end up leaving the castle. Meanwhile, Gaston confronts the Beast, who is too depressed to fight back as the only girl he has ever loved does not come back. Gaston then shoots him in the back, causing the Beast to fall onto the roof. Just at the right time, Belle appears and tries to stop Gaston from killing the Beast. After seeing Belle return, the Beast regains his spirit to fight back. At one moment, he overpowers Gaston, but decides to spare his life at the last second before reuniting with Belle. However, Gaston suddenly shoots the Beast from an unstable bridge, which then collapses, sending Gaston falling to his death. Unfortunately, the Beast ends up dying just as the last petal falls, and all the servants become inanimate objects. As Belle tearfully professes her love to the Beast and begs him not to leave her, Agath finally reveals herself as the Enchantress and undoes the curse, which revives the Beast and restores him to his human form. While the two are sharing a kiss, the crumbling castle is now rebuilt, and all the castle servants become human again. They happily reunite with their respective families as the villagers have recovered their lost memories. The movie ends with Belle and the prince hosting a ball for the kingdom, where they dance happily ever after. May Holland is on a kayak in the middle of a lake. Her phone rings, but she ignores it and continues what seems to be her favorite hobby. We are then introduced to her typical day of work at a water company, answering calls of angry customers. Her exhausting day is far from being over as her car breaks on her way back home. Another opportunity. She calls her friend Mercer, who is a handy guy, helping her fix her car. Despite his successful job at fixing the car, his attempt of inviting May for a dinner that night turns out to be a failure. Once home, May is having dinner with her parents, who are pretty fond of Mercer and, definitely, not shy to suggest that they should be a couple. Much to their dismay, May is not welcoming the idea. Another aspect of May's family is shown during this dinner. May's dad has multiple sclerosis, and it is not covered by insurance. Another day, another opportunity, a saying that was pretty literal for May, as, in the midst of yet another hectic day, she got a call from her friend Annie, saying that the company she's working for is hiring up to 100 people and that May should take the interview the next day. Hermione was delighted to hear the news, and so she excitedly headed to the circle the following day for the interview. The interview? Your typical interview? Not really. But May was able to make it through and is now part of the Circle customer experience team. Annie then introduces May to the many facilities the company has, from headquarters of different departments to leisure and sports. May is pretty surprised, but just then, before she could elaborately express her thoughts, her extremely busy friend leaves her in the hands of the customer experience unit head. May is shown a demonstration of how to deal with customers and the metrics used to rate her performance. May was hoping to get her score above 90, but Annie reassured that her 87 score was satisfactory. For the first week, the reassurance sunk in as the friends got seated at the Circle conference Dream Friday. It is hosted by Bailey, a laid-back CEO making jokes here and there, while introducing the Circle company's latest innovation, SeeChange. SeeChange is cameras as small as a coin, and that can be implemented anywhere without being noticed. The moral motive behind this, according to Bailey, is tracking wrongdoers and holding them accountable in order to make a change in the community. This announcement is followed by a party featuring the artist Beck. Annie then takes May to a somehow secret place where she makes her say a verbal non-disclosure statement, as what goes on there is extremely confidential, being the place where the magic happens. Annie has to rush to catch a flight to Australia. Too much for business trips, if you ask me. May is then left alone. She makes her way back to the party and tries to start a conversation with who she assumed to be a fellow employee. The man was busy on his phone. Still, he welcomed the conversation with May. Since she seemed excited about her new position, he guessed that she was a newbie, or one of big guppies, as Bailey liked to call them. He strangely told her, with a hint of sarcasm, to keep on that excitement as he left for an urgent matter. May spent the weekend at a certain gathering with her parents, who are proud of her for making it to the greatest company of the country. They're still trying to pimp her up with Mercer, but May isn't so fond of the idea, and she goes as far as saying some hurtful words to him, degrading to some extent. Once back at the table with her parents, her dad has an episode and her mom escorts him back inside. Feeling overwhelmed, May goes kayaking as she lets her sorrows roll down her cheeks in the form of tears. A new week for May at the Circle, and as she is watching the news coverage about the senator questioning the Circle's true intentions, she is interrupted by two of her coworkers. They try to make her feel guilty about not attending some gatherings and activities during the weekends and seek personal information that they note down on their tablets. They were building a profile of May and wanted to know everything about her. They seemed to know about her father's MS that she hasn't mentioned before and went on as far as telling her to catch up with the 8,000 group messages. The exchange was an explicit privacy violation sugar-coated by the purpose of enhancing the sense of community. May is left in disbelief, but she still does her best to boost her efforts, and she finally achieves a perfect score. She has a brief call with her mom that updates her on her father's health. May feels sorry that she's not there for them as she stays at the dorm to keep up with her work. During the video call, she notices her friend Mercer's latest work, a pretty chandelier, that she shares on the Circle community group. Busy Annie is back and she introduces May to Dr. Jessica, who performs her medical intake. That is none other than daily data stored on the company's cloud and available via the employees' tablets. The doctor offers to get May's parents on their health plan, which takes May over the moon as it is an opportunity to save her father. True You. Next up is a conference by Tom, Bailey's associate, and hosting a senator candidate who advocates accountability through data sharing via the True You page. Another after-party calls for another unusual talk, this time with an employee who works in iris scanning and tracking, boasting about how they can save children from predators with their technology. May is amazed until she is told that it is not through a worn bracelet, but a chip implemented in the bone. While May is trying to make sense of what she heard, she spots the same guy from last time, busy on his phone once again. When she walks up the stairs to greet him, he shoves his phone in his pocket, and after they exchange a few words, he suggests showing her something, to which she complies and heads downstairs. Upon introducing her to where the data is stored, the guy reveals his identity as Ty Lafitte, creator of True You. He doesn't approve of monetizing personal data and discarding privacy. May is shocked, but she accepts to keep this encounter a secret. The next day, May has a visitor, Mercer, who has been receiving death threats for being a deer killer upon the picture that May shared with the group. Upset, May trespasses to get the kayak at night and goes into an agitated bay. She is knocked off her kayak and is holding on for dear life when a helicopter and rescuers save her. According to them, it was thanks to the sea change cameras that she was spotted and saved. What follows is an interview held by Bailey, where May talks about how frightening her experience was and that it was thanks to the sea change cameras that she was saved. Then, through a smart manipulative speech, Bailey comes to the conclusion that everything should be shared. It is selfish not to share, and that secrets are lies. May Holland is the first subject to have a portable sea change camera 24/7. Within the ecstatic crowds applauding his initiative, we notice a very distraught Annie, unlike her previous enthusiastic self, and also a disappointed Ty. And so, May is being watched from waking up in the morning and doing her most basic hygiene routine up to making calls with her parents and her day at work. She is in her third week of transparency, with 2.3 million viewers currently watching. When she's back at her dorm room, she checks on her folks through their camera and catches them being intimate for the whole world to see. May is embarrassed, but tries to brush it off. She tries checking on them again, but their cameras are disconnected. The following day, on her way around campus, May spots Annie, but the latter avoids her and keeps walking till May calls her by her full name. May has 3 minutes off a video for bathroom usage, and that's where she gets to have a private talk with haggard Annie, who tells May that she's way deep in, and there are things she doesn't realize. During a meeting about vote registration, May suggests taking it up a notch and make it mandatory for everyone to vote through Circle, for ideally democratic countries where everybody's voice is heard. Annie tries to knock sense into her during the meeting, but to no avail. On the other hand, the idea of glorifying the Circle through this initiative is more than welcomed by Bailey. May is then given the spotlight as she announces during a conference that her idea is now possible, as 22 countries have agreed to it. During the same conference, she introduces Soul Search, a way to find anyone, anytime, under 20 minutes. And so she gives a demo by looking for a fugitive that ends up being found through the eyes of the billions of people using the Circle. That only fuels the exhilarating crowd who wants more and is now suggesting Mercer. May declines the shouting crowd's demands, but Bailey steps in and forces her to do it. Ty is watching the full conference. Mercer is found by strangers around the forest. They try to barge in his house, while calling him a deer killer. Mercer manages to get in his car, but they go as far as following him. The pursuit ends tragically with Mercer drifting off the bridge down a ravine and dying. May is grieving back at her parents' home for 4 days. She calls Annie, who's in Scotland. She tries to convince her to back off the Circle, especially after what happened, but May seems brainwashed and doesn't hold the Circle accountable, and still believes that the services can be improved to avoid such accidents. The end. On her way back to work, she calls Ty. May declines Bailey and Tom's suggestion of taking another position with a more flexible schedule like Ty Lafitte, and she just enforces the fact that a fund should be set for Mercer's family. Ty calls May, and they meet underground by the cloud storage. He tells May that he did what she instructed and that he discovered so many things way more dangerous than he thought, and that Mercer's death could be a game changer. May nods and heads back to the conference hosted by Bailey. May joins the discussion and calls Tom to join the stage as well. She goes on about how Mercer could have been still alive if they had never lost contact. To begin with, through accessible locating and information anywhere, anytime. She then holds up 2 sea change cameras and turns to Bailey and Tom, asking them to be fully transparent as well. The men are taken aback, but it only gets worse for them as May discloses their personal files, secret ones, and even encrypted ones, and sends them to the crowds. That marks the ends of the two as May rises to be the new leader for a better circle. The last scene is May kayaking on the bay with a couple of drones hovering over her. The image then zooms out to reveal hundreds of video shots from different countries and different people. That's quite the ending that leaves unanswered questions. Was May in it with Ty all along, trying to throw Bailey off? What changes will May make to the circle? Will privacy be forever lost? In 1861, in a small village in America, 4 sisters were gathering in their home. The oldest one is Meg, the second one is Jo, the third one is Amy, and the youngest one is Beth. That night, Meg and Jo had planned to go to a dance party at Maggie's friend's house. When Jo was doing Meg's hair, she accidentally burned Meg's hair. Thankfully, her carelessness didn't cause much trouble. It was Jo's first party, so Maggie explained the do's and don'ts at the party. She should never talk too fast, flirt, or praise the boys too much, and many other rules. During the party, Jo didn't do anything besides watching her sister dance with her friends. Differently from Meg's graceful nature, Jo's character was the exact opposite. She is tomboyish, careless, and introverted. Bored with the party, Jo then looked for a quiet place to take a break. She then met a boy named Laurie. It turns out that Laurie is the son of a rich family who lived in front of Jo's house. The two of them then talk at length about each other. Jo told him that her father was at war, while Laurie told her that both of his parents have died, and he lived with his grandfather. In the middle of their chat, Laurie invited Jo to dance. But because she was shy, the two of them danced in a quiet place, away from the crowd. While dancing, Meg called from the window. Meg said that she sprained her leg and couldn't walk home. Out of pity, Laurie then took them both home. When they got home, while taking care of Meg's sprained leg, Jo's mother, whose name is Marmee, greeted Laurie kindly. Laurie smiled as he saw the rest of Jo's family. All his life, he never felt such warmth of family as Jo's family showed to him. Days passed, and the Christmas arrived. That morning, Jo and her sisters gathered while telling each other their dreams. Meg said that one day, she wanted to be an actress. Jo said that she wanted to be a writer, and Amy wanted to be a famous singer. Meanwhile, Beth's dream was not as ambitious as her sister's. She only wanted to be able to play piano to entertain her sisters and mother every day. Hearing that made her sisters move and hugged her. An hour later, their mother showed up. She said that before she went home, she went to the house of their neighbors, the Hummel family, whose husband was also fighting the war. She saw that the Hummel family had not eaten since yesterday. Even to warm themselves, the children had to sleep in one bed, hugging each other. If possible, Marmee would like to give some blankets and all the food at their home to the Hummel family. Out of pity, the 4 sisters agreed. Across the road, Laurie saw the 4 sisters from his window with baskets of food in their hands. He knew that Jo and her sisters wanted to share their food with others who needed more. When they came home far away, they were surprised to find lots of food on their table. Their family maid told them that before they returned home, Laurie and her grandfather came and gave them all the food. Amid the joy, Marmee took out a letter sent from their father. The 4 sisters gathered to listen to Marmee. Even though their father was not there, this Christmas felt like the happiest Christmas for their family. The next day, Jo went to see her aunt. She visited her aunt once a week to learn the manners of noblewomen. Her aunt was a rich and stingy spinster, but even though she is stingy, she cared a lot about her nephews. That was why she wanted to teach Jo to behave like a noblewoman, so she could get a rich husband one day. Despite all that, Jo didn't seem to want to get married. She just wanted to live like her aunt, become an independent woman who gained all she wanted, all by herself. Meanwhile, her aunt wanted to inherit all her wealth for Jo when he passed away. One night, Jo and Meg were invited to watch a play with Laurie and Laurie's private tutor named John. While they were getting ready, Amy asked to come with her. She really wanted to meet Laurie because she had fallen in love with him since the first time she saw him when he took her sisters home. Sadly, they didn't have enough tickets, so Amy had to stay. In the theater, John kept staring at Meg. 4 of them looked happy enjoying their night together. But when they got home, Jo realized that her handwritten novel had gone. Jo was sure that Amy was the one who hid her novel. Joe argued with Amy and suddenly, Amy said that she had burnt the novel because she was jealous of her. That words from Amy made Joe angry and beat her sister. Luckily, Marmee came to separate the two of them. After the situation calmed down, Marmee told Amy to apologize, but Joe didn't want to forgive her yet. The next day, during breakfast, Joe was still annoyed at Amy and kept away from Amy. Not long after, Lori came to invite Joe for a walk. Amy, who felt guilty, then asked Meg how to get Joe to forgive her. Meg told Amy to go after Joe, but don't say anything until Joe smiled. Amy immediately went to chase after Joe, but in the middle of the road, while crossing the frozen lake, the ice broke and Meg plunged into freezing water. Seeing her sister in danger, Joe and Lori rushed to save her. Thankfully, they managed to save her and brought her back home. That night at the house, Joe confided to her mother about his anger issue. Her mother told her that despite her patience, she once had an anger issue, just like Joe. Her mother said that if she tried, she was sure that Joe would be able to control herself too. Months passed and now, Joe and Amy had made up. In the afternoon, Lori took Joe and her family on vacation to the beach with John and Lori's friend Fred. Meg and John's relationship seemed to be getting closer, likewise with Joe and Lori. Joe even had a special call for Lori. Amy was not jealous of Joe anymore, but she still liked to paint Lori from the distance secretly. The next day, when Marmee was at work, she got the news that her husband, who has just returned from the battlefield, was being treated in the hospital. In a panic, the four sisters, Lori, and his grandfather helped Marmee to get ready to go to the hospital. Before leaving, Joe gave quite a lot of money to her mother. Marmee asked where she got that much money. Joe then replied that she had sold her hair to the saloon while taking off her hat. Seeing her daughter's sacrifice, Marmee was very moved. 3 days passed, but Marmee had not returned from the hospital. That morning, Beth asked her sisters to accompany her to see the Hummel family. Since their mother left for the hospital 3 days ago, the Hummel family must be starving because no one gave them food, but instead of hearing her, her sisters were too focused on their stuff. Beth decided to leave for the Hummel family's house alone. Before she went there, she went to Lori's house first. She gave a pair of shoes to Lori's grandfather as a thank you for helping their family from time to time. After returning home from the Hummel family's home, her siblings showed her a piano. Turned out, Lori's grandfather gave it to her as thanks for her present to him. He also sent a letter with it, saying that the piano was nothing compared to Beth's gift. Beth was so moved she then rushed to go then hugged the old man. Lori's grandfather said that Beth reminded him of his late daughter when she was just a child. Amid the chat, Lori's grandfather realized that Beth was having a fever. At night, Beth was examined by the doctor. The results showed that Beth was suffering from flu, and if they were too late to handle her sickness, Beth's life could be threatened. The doctor also explained that this disease is easily transmitted to people who had never had the flu, so for a while, Beth must be quarantined. Meanwhile, Amy, who had never had the flu, must stay with her aunt for a while. 2 days later, Amy was still staying at her aunt's house. When she was painting, her aunt looked at her and found her gracious nature. Her aunt then asked her if she wanted to replace Joe to come to her place every week. Her aunt thought that compared to Joe, whose nature was tomboyish, Amy was more elegant and is perfect to be a noble woman and become her successor. If Amy agreed to be a good girl, her aunt will guarantee her future. Hearing that, Amy, who was still innocent, smiled and happily agreed. On the other hand, Beth's conditions seemed to be getting worse. Her sisters didn't know how to treat her flu. They then decided to call their mother to go home to take care of their sister. Hours later, Marmee came. With her tenderness, she managed to take control. It was late that night, but Marmee was still taking care of Beth. The next morning, when Joe woke up, she panicked because she couldn't find Beth in her bed. She ran downstairs calling for her mother, but it turned out Beth was there with her. She was healed from her flu. Joe happily hugged her beloved sister. Months later, Christmas arrived once again, but different from last year's Christmas. This year, Lori's grandfather joined in celebrating Christmas. Suddenly, Lori showed up with a surprise. He brought Joe's father home from the hospital. Months passed, and today was Meg and John's wedding day, but instead of being happy like the others, Joe was actually sad. She then asked Meg to run away with her so that Meg could chase her dream, instead of getting married. Hearing that, Meg smiled and said that she didn't have to do that. Meg said that it was her choice to marry and abandoned her dream. Meg said that being an independent woman doesn't mean one should not fall in love. She had made up her mind, and Joe had to respect her decision, even though deep down, She couldn't accept how her sister abandoned her dream to get married. After the party, Lori invited Joe to chat with her, just the two of them. At that moment, Lori dared himself to propose to Joe, but instead of being happy, Joe was angry. She said that she never wanted to fall in love from the very start. She just wanted to be an independent woman who was successful in making her dreams come true. For Joe, Lori was just a brother to her. Lori's heart was broken. Before leaving, Lori said that no matter how hard she tried to avoid love, one day, Joe would eventually fall in love. It is not humans who reach for love, but the love itself chose where to stay. With his heart broken, Lori left from there. 7 years later, Joe had grown up and moved to New York City. She never met Lori since she turned down his proposal. Joe was wanting to offer her script to a large publishing company in New York, but because women's emancipation was not issued at that time, it was difficult for women to get jobs. Joe was forced to confess to the editor that the work that he brought was not hers, but rather her male friend's. When it was read, the editor was interested. He was willing to publish the work, as long as he was allowed to change the ending of her writing to a happy ending, since the editor felt that the ending of the writing was too tragic and would definitely not sell well in the market. Like it or not, for the sake of money, Joe allowed her writing to be changed. After returning to her boarding house, Joe immediately wrote a new story next to the fireplace, but because he was too focused, she didn't realize that her dress was on fire. Fortunately, warned her about her dress. That man is Friedrich, a young lecturer at a campus in New York City, who also lived there. Shortly after, their landlord came and told Joe that her students were waiting for her upstairs. Besides working as a writer, Joe also worked as a private tutor. Before leaving, Friedrich asked why did she bother to work that hard when most of the women her age preferred to marry instead. Casually, Joe replied that she was not at all interested in getting married. After all, this is just a side job. Joe's main goal was to keep fulfilling her dream of becoming a famous book writer. Friedrich was amazed by her answer. That night at the theater, Joe saw Friedrich, who just finished watching one of the shows. Joe was eager to chat with him again, so she followed him to a bar. There, someone asked her to dance with the other visitors, including Friedrich. Joe was so happy. She reminisced the memory where she danced with Lori years ago. The next evening, Friedrich secretly sent a book and a letter to Joe. Friedrich wrote in his letter that he was curious about Joe's writings and would like to see them after she finished them. That letter made Joe happy. She made up her mind to finish her work that very night. After staying up all night writing, Joe finally finished her work. She immediately went to visit Friedrich and showed him her work. She was sure that Friedrich would love her writing, but that was not what happened. Friedrich criticized her writing all out and made Joe irritated. She then burst into anger and told Friedrich that he didn't understand what she read. Moreover, he never wrote anything before. Joe immediately left from there. On the other hand, in the city of Paris, France, Amy was seen taking a stroll with her aunt on their horse-drawn carriage. She had grown up to be a beautiful woman and was dating Lori's friend, Fred. Amy told her aunt that she received a letter from her mother in the morning, saying that Beth was badly sick. But rather than sympathizing and telling her to return home to see her sister's condition, her aunt told her not to worry too much because her sisters were there to take care of Beth. In the middle of the road, Amy saw Lori, who happened to pass by. She called his name and immediately ran to hug him. She hadn't seen him for years since she lived with her aunt. Before she left, Amy told Lori her address and invited him to come to visit if he had the time. A few days later, Joe also received a letter from Marmee about Beth's condition. Her reaction was different from Amy's. Without thinking much, she immediately returned home to check on her sister. When she saw that the whole family had gathered except Amy, she was annoyed. She grumbled all day. Her mother told her that Amy might have something to do. Her mother also mentioned that Amy had just met Lori and told her that they might come back home eventually when her business is finished. After taking off her jacket, Joe rushed to check on Beth's condition. On one side, Joe was worried about his sister's condition, but she also thought about Marmee's words earlier. She was jealous because Amy was the one that Lori met after years, not her. Joe also wanted to meet him again and fix her past mistakes. That night, when John checked his savings, he was confused as to why he ran out of money in his savings. Meg then confessed that she had made a mistake by buying new clothes for herself and the children. Meg tried to apologize. John didn't say anything, but that made Meg feel more guilty. She said that she was jealous when he saw his friend shopping for new clothes, so she bought some too. Hearing that made John disappointed. Meanwhile, in France, Lori came to visit Amy. While she was managing her paintings, Lori asked when would she make an exhibit for her paintings. Amy replied she has stopped painting because she realized that her painting was not pleasing to
C.
She's just waiting for Fred to propose to her, then the two of them will get married. During the chat, Lori was mesmerized by Amy. She looked prettier than back when they were younger. In the middle of the chat, from the window, Amy saw Fred coming. Before welcoming Fred, Amy asked Lori how she looked. While smiling, Lori said that she was stunning. Days passed. When the two of them met again, Lori asked Amy to paint him. After finishing the painting, Lori accidentally saw an old painting of him. Amy said that he painted it back when they were on vacation on the beach 7 years ago. Lori realized that Amy had feelings for him for years, but he never realized that. At that very moment, Lori immediately dared to propose to Amy and told her to leave Fred if she still loved him. Hearing that made Amy cry. She knew that she was just a release after Joe rejected him. Amy immediately left him alone. The next day, Amy's aunt told her that Lori had just come to say goodbye. Lori had planned to move to London and would not come back again. Amy didn't say anything. Deep down, Amy still had feeling for Lori, but she didn't have the heart to hurt Fred's heart. Amy had a dilemma until finally, in the afternoon, when Fred proposed to her, Amy refused his proposal. Hearing Amy had rejected a man as rich as Fred, her aunt was shocked. On the other hand, Joe took Beth to the beach. Joe told Beth that she would stop writing and was going to focus on taking care of her. Hearing that, Beth disagreed. Beth said that she wanted her sister to continue writing if she wanted her to be happy. After that, Joe was determined to write the best novel story he had ever written. The next day, when Joe was taking care of Beth, she saw Meg and John in front of their house. At first, Meg thought John was going to scold her again about the new clothes she bought yesterday, but it turned out that John was sorry and promised that he would try to find extra money so that Meg could buy the nice things. She was so moved. She then said that John didn't need to look for a new job. As a wife, she should be more grateful to accept whatever his husband's condition was. From inside, Joe was touched to see what happened between Meg and John. She was happy for them, but suddenly Beth had seizures. Her sickness was much worse than what happened 7 years ago. That night, Joe slept next to Beth while crying and kept holding Beth's hand. Joe kept telling her to stay alive and fight for her health. The next morning, Joe was surprised when she couldn't find Beth in her bed. She immediately ran downstairs to the kitchen to look for her. There, she only found her mother, crying about something. Turned out, Beth had died. After Beth's funeral, Joe packed up her things. Shortly after, Marmee came, and the two of them then had a long chat discussing Joe's dream to become a famous writer, but Joe didn't seem interested at all. She said that she had been alone for too long, and that she might need someone to lean on. She said that if Lori came and proposed to her, she will accept his proposal right away. The only thing she needed was to feel loved. She didn't even care if she could love the man or not. Marmee told her that she still had a lot in life, and it will definitely be much happier if she could also love the man. Joe couldn't say anything to respond. Meanwhile, Amy was about to go home when suddenly, Lori showed up. While crying, Amy said that she was sorry for not coming earlier to see Beth. She then invited Lori to come home together, but Lori refused. He had promised himself to stay away from Amy. Amy told him that she refused Fred's proposal the day before. Hearing that made Lori so happy. He kissed her right away and proposed to her. In the evening, when Joe was sleeping, Lori woke her up. He and Amy had just arrived.
Joe
Smiled and hugged him, but her smile immediately disappeared when Lori told her that he and Amy had just married. Lori told a long story about his meeting with Amy and how they both decided to get married on the way home. Joe was shocked. He went out to calm his mind. Outside, he saw Lori's grandfather. When Joe asked what he was doing, he explained that he didn't have the heart to go inside. Since the first time he met Beth, he had considered her his granddaughter. When he found out that Beth had passed away, he was heartbroken. Hearing that, Joe held his hand and said that even though she was not Beth, she didn't mind being his friend too. After he calmed down, the two of them went inside. At night, Joe couldn't sleep. She kept remembering Beth's last wish. Even though her writing couldn't cure her, Joe was eager to grant her sister's last wish. That very night, Joe started writing her best novel. For days, Joe continued to write without taking a rest until finally, Joe's novel was finished. When it was time to send it to the publisher, Joe confidently wrote her name in there. She was sure, even though she was only a woman, she could be as great and even greater than men. The next day, while having breakfast, Jo's parents told her that someone was waiting to meet her. Turned out it was Friedrich. She was happy to be able to see him again. They spent the rest of the day together with the family. When Friedrich was about to go home, he said that he was sorry and said his purpose to criticize Jo's writing at that time was only because he wanted to motivate Jo to be able to write even better. Jo just smiled as she said that she didn't care about the problem anymore. She was just so happy to see Friedrich again. When Friedrich left, everyone asked why Jo didn't express her feelings. They knew from the look in her eyes. Jo must have liked him. Meg and Amy kept forcing her to chase him. They even took her to the station. At the station, when Jo met Friedrich, she immediately said that she loved Friedrich. Thankfully, Friedrich shared the same feeling with her. They then shared a very romantic kiss. Years later, their aunt passed away, but surprisingly, their aunt actually left all her wealth to Jo. Amy didn't look jealous at all. She was actually happy because, after all, Jo was still her sister. Jo then turned her aunt's big house into a school. All the family helped take care of the school, including Friedrich. Not only that, but the novel, written by Jo, was also in the process of printing. The novel she wrote for his late sister, Beth. The novel that told the story of her family's life journey. A novel that she entitled Little Women.